painting in the midnight hour. I sent my brother a message. I doubt he will answer because, he's probably sleeping because he's an old man and he needs like a lot of sleep. He's like, I'm an old man. I need less sleep. Leave me alone. Still waiting for them to figure out what they're doing with my X account. They say it's being reviewed. So, you know, all I can do is wait to see if they're going to tell me when they're done reviewing it. Honestly, I don't really care. I've got some stuff I need to do today, and I wasn't feeling super sleepy, so even though I should be, but when a man loves a woman, he can't think of nothing else. The boss of the Scorpion Men is just turned out, in my opinion, pretty badass. I'm pretty pleased with that, and been doing a little detail work on my club-tailed forest dragon. So yeah. So the next thing I need to do is grab these badass Reaper miniatures, undead, evil staffs, right? Because they got good ones and evil ones. And I need to grab one that's not all angelic, so I need an evil one. And I think I'm going to give him a club in one hand and a staff in the other, right? Just to really lean into the fact that he is absolutely a mage. This is a mage or a cleric. Whatever he is, I want to make sure everybody knows right off the bat that it's not just a fighter. It's something else, something different. So, looking at houses near Oneida, Jellicoe, Lafayette, or not Lafayette, Lafayette or some. Anyway, looking at places in Tennessee. Looking at some places in Tennessee, close to Kentucky, which is where I want to be. Tennessee, it's not Kentucky, but it's close enough for me. That's my moving to Tennessee, but wish I was moving to Kentucky. So. And the reason is, really, this asshole's going to do this on me? No, it's not. No, you will not. I this freaking thing. What does this do? Okay, it just turns it around. Okay. So what if I go here? Man. The next time I'm going to have money to blow is probably going to be, I get paid Wednesday, and then I get paid the Wednesday after that. It might be about when I need to. Julia Silverstone, good morning to you. Guten Morgen, Frau. If I vanish for a while, don't think I'm not coming back. I'm fixing this damn computer because it's acting up. Somehow or another, it asked me if I wanted to join Shadow Stream, and I know he's not even on. This is way past his bedtime, I'm pretty sure. Got some Irish bits here from the Dark Age Irish. I always laugh when I look at the Irish bits because one of the bits is like shillelaghs, big Irish war clubs, right? It reminds me of an old Droopy cartoon. I don't know if you guys remember Droopy, but he was this dog in a cartoon long, long time ago. And there was one episode where I don't even remember what was going on, but basically Droopy just waylays this wolf, right? Like waylays this wolf in the head with like a baseball bat. And the wolf stops and looks directly at Droopy. And then in this Irish accent, asks Droopy, "Why did you hit me in the head with a shillelagh?" And for some reason, even though that cartoon's got to be 50 years old, every time I've ever seen anybody get hit in the head with a bat or a stick or anything like that, I am immediately drawn back to my childhood and that wolf asking, "Why did you hit me in the head with a shillelagh?" You know, and Droopy's standing there with the baseball bat, you know, behind his back. And just the wolf just like looking at him like, I mean, obviously the wolf was the bad guy in the cartoon, and Droopy Dog was trying to be the good guy. But just that whole scene just cracked me up because it's just like, you know, you've got the wolf just being like, why did you hit me in the head with the shillelagh? It's like, see, if I'd been the wolf, I'd been angry, right? I'd been like, all right, I'm gonna whip Droopy's ass. This cannot fly, right? We're not doing this game where, you know, some little dog smacks me in the head with a shillelagh. That is just not the game that I'm playing over here, right? But this freaking wolf was totally like trying to figure it out. Hey Daniel, how you doing, brother? So Julia, how are things with you, ma'am? I hope everything is beautiful and amazing in your German homeland. And you know, I really have nothing else to say than that, you know? It's like, I mean, unfortunately, my memory sucks. So, yeah, I don't have much more to say to that. If my memory was better, I would be like, you know, I'd bust into song, you know, in the mountains where I come from, there lives a girl, and her name, Erica, right? And she's surrounded by bees and beautiful flowers, and her name is Erica. I like that song, and I can tell you why. Before anybody freaks out and starts, you know, sending me Hugo Boss and red armbands. One, it's World War One, and two, as a combat soldier, whenever you leave home to go to a foreign land to meet interesting people and kill them, a lot of times the thing that keeps your morale up is thinking about while it might have been used in old WW2, so a lot of people don't want to mess with it. It super predates it, but when you really get down to it, it's just soldiers singing about how much they miss, you know, the pretty girl that they left behind. And again, this is like part of the whole thing when I was talking about how the original Milan cartoon was like perfection for a Disney cartoon because, you know, when they're marching off and they're all singing "A Girl Worth Fighting For," I mean, that is like the most soldier. You have to be crazy. How you doing, Hunger? You go to bed. You're not my boss. I know you think you are. But so yeah, there are a lot of songs that people who were so supposedly our enemies sang that I think it's easy for civilians to be like, screw them, I hate them, I hope they die. But if you're an actual combat veteran, you kind of feel a certain like brotherhood, you know? And I think that weird brotherhood, it extends out. So even though I fought in the Gulf War, which I would definitely say to anybody who asked was the easy war, deserts, an enemy that couldn't pull their head out of their own asses, the best equipment the earth has ever seen, in the arms of the best trained soldiers the earth has probably seen in a long time. So my war was awesome, right? But there was a huge part of me that had a bit of feelings for our enemy, you know? Like I actually felt well, not empathy, because I don't believe empathy is real, but sympathy. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. So when I got back and people were like, did you hate the Iraqi? And I'm like, no, I did not hate the Iraqi. Now, I did absolutely despise the Saudis. Hated them. They're the worst. And if people ask why, I will tell you the truth. Because when we were over there, they owned slaves. They're just arrogant bastards. They're the worst kind of people. You know, they really are. And as an American, you know, even though I had family members that fought in that particular war about, you know, what we should do with the darker folks, I myself am an abolitionist. And even though during the Civil War era, I know for a fact I would have worn the gray. I would have fought for my home state. I already know that. But I still would have been an abolitionist. You see what I mean? And I think there were a lot of people who were like that, who, you know, fought for the South, but deep down inside were like, yeah, this slavery is not a good thing. We need to do something about it, right? And there were probably a lot of guys that fought for the North that were like, you know, this slavery shit's kind of awesome, actually. You know, I think there were a few Northern generals that kept their slaves even after they were supposed to have been free. So, yeah, not super pro-slavery, but then a side effect of this, and this is something I've had long conversations with my madre, my mama, as we say in Russia, mama. She doesn't understand how I can be sympathetic, how I can watch a film like Saving Private Ryan, and I totally, I mean, it's a kick in the guts watching those American GIs die. It really is, right? And I hate every bit of it. And yet, I also feel bad for the Germans that die. That is what being a combat vet taught me, is that young men who go off and die for their country, it sucks. Now, granted, we all want to do it for some reason because young men, I think, are stupid. And it's kind of a thing, right? So it's like most young men have this weird kind of complex. Somebody actually did like a thing on it, the whole why do young men dream of fighting in some kind of last stand thing, you know? I don't know that I've ever dreamed of fighting in a last stand situation, but I get it though. I'm like, yeah, I totally get why somebody would want to, and I think that goes along with why games like Warhammer 40K and other grimdark games like that are so popular. Because in the young male psyche, especially I think the European mind, there's this kind of idea of heroism, you know? And mythologically, the most heroic thing a man can do is be the one that says, go on ahead, I'm going to hold this bridge. And, those are the stories for the most part, Generation X and earlier, we grew up with those stories, whether it was that brave unknown Viking that held Stamford Bridge for as long as he did, or the Spartans or whoever it was, the Alamo, that was always like just in our DNA growing up. Just the idea that those were truly the men, and that was what you want to aspire to be one day. It's different now because you got dudes that are just aspiring to be fat asses and not have kids and vote for their own worst interest at every opportunity. Uh, you know, but yeah, in the old days, like I remember, this is something I always bring up. I remember when I was in school and we learned about the Crusades, and the book my teacher used and the way he taught it, it was beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Crusaders were the good guys, and I remember learning about this battle where, like, was it William and his knightly order was attacked and they were outnumbered like 10-1, and they just crushed the shit out of the Muslims. They just crushed them, right? And I remember we were taught that, and the way my teacher taught that, there was 100% absolutely a sense of pride in that. It was like, this is what your people did against these other people. And then at some point in the 80s, the teaching about the Crusades started changing. But here's the trick, guys. It didn't become more realistic. It actually became less realistic and more propagandist, right? People started trying to blame the Crusaders for basically everything. And the fact is that the Crusades, there were less than 70 actual battles that were perpetrated by the Crusaders. Like all of them, from the first one to the last one, there's like 70 something battles, right? But the previous 300 years leading up to the Crusades, there was like 1,000 battles that were all initiated by Islamic forces, conquering Anatolia, conquering Syria, conquering the Levant, conquering North Africa, which was Christian land for thousands of years, conquering Spain, pushing at France a little bit, constantly going after the Balkans, constantly going after Austro-Hungary. I mean, so those guys had a good 350 years of straight up raiding the shit out of Europe before the first crusade even happened. And people don't talk about that at all, right? And then these are the same people, like everybody's favorite dumbass, Hassan Piker, who will get on and talk about colonization, and he literally is a Turk. And it's like, that's not Turkey, asshole. In 1458, you conquered the last city, Nicaea. You put an end to thousands of years of Christian Roman rule and renamed the region from Anatolia to Turkey. So don't tell me about colonization when you guys did it. And then they had to build the 4 minarets around the Hagia Sophia, because there's a certain thing with Islam that they call triumphalism. So when they conquer a major holy site or a major whatever of a foreign religion, they always built the 4 tall minarets around it to like show the world that they own it. You know, there's a lot of bragging like that. Hell, they tried Russia, but they got whipped. So I guess my job tonight, which is not a job, it's just what I'm doing a little bit, besides getting ready to put a bunch of gloss coat on some scorpions. Well, yeah, there's, Julia, the versions of the Crusades are this. There's the true version, which I've just shared with you. And then there's the 80s communist university version, which bears nothing to the truth, right? Like, one thing you'll hear about people who hate the Crusades is they'll say, well, the Crusaders only went because they wanted gold. Historically speaking, what's up, Greg? George. Historically speaking, a lot of Crusader knights, we're talking the lesser guys, not like dukes and on, but just, you know, knights and their households, they lost money on those crusades. Those crusades were not profitable. Bear in mind that the Christians were not taking slaves wholesale and selling them off to, who in hell would they sell them to? I mean, if the Christians had wanted to, I mean, they could have took all those hot Lebanese chicks and sold them all over Europe, but they didn't. You know what I mean? Whereas Islam always did that. So, yes. Pretty much if you went to university and you sat through any classes on the Crusades, the one thing you can know definitively is that you have been lied to. And everything that professor taught you is a lie. And if you look up books written prior to 1980, that's where you'll actually get the truth. There are still a few professors out there that will tell you the truth about the Crusades. And like I said, those numbers I listed, like 70-something battles throughout the whole of the Crusades versus hundreds of invasions by Muslims. I mean, the Muslims at one point ruled the Mediterranean. They enslaved everyone they could get their hands on. It was so bad that Italy and France and Spain, for like 100 years, never built villages within 20 miles of the ocean. Because if you did, then Muslim fleets would just show up and carry your ass off into slavery. Crappy Rainbows has rated this stream. Well, welcome. Raid away. I don't know what that means. Skillet, what is up, my brother from a lesser state? Because I'm sorry, Georgia will never compete with the Commonwealth of Kentucky, but hey, it could be worse. You could live somewhere out west. Yeah, and then they changed the name of it to their stupid spelling of Turkey because, you know, they figured out that there's a bird called a turkey. It's like, Crappy Rainbows. Crappy Rainbows changed his thing. But hi to anyone. It's midnight. I am ranting while I am painting. And I know I talk a bunch of shit about GW, guys. I know I do. But you're going to have to forgive me. I really like their hard coat. It is like my favorite brush on heavy duty lacquer. And then I'll hit it when it's completely dry with this Vallejo matte acrylic. Yeah, Georgia is an OG state. That's true. Kentucky's a second line state. We started life as part of the Commonwealth or the Crown Colony of Virginia. But we got better, right? Like to bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet. Come on, there's got to be something you can do. But yeah, so the idea of boo-hoo, the poor Muslims are minding their business in all their Muslimly land, and the Christians came and did some horrible shit, is absolutely garbage. It's not true. It's a fairy tale. It's a myth. If you believe that, then you probably, I don't know, might be a flat earther or some shit. You know? And the country was not named after the chicken. It was named after the guy who became the totalitarian leader, whose name was Ataturk. Because after World War I, Turkey was basically a laughingstock. Some people don't even know this. America landed troops in Istanbul, got into a firefight with them, then pulled away. I mean, the Turks couldn't do shit. They started that war over Crimea. Well, okay, they didn't start that war. Russia did, because Russia rolled down and said, hey, Crimea, nice area, we're taking it. And they brought in allies, including England and France, and fought a big war. The city of Sevastopol was completely wrecked. The French can claim that, yes, they won. Their troops managed to make it all the way to the top of the citadel, etc., etc., etc. The Russian military had a hard time with that, but I don't know. I'm looking at the map right now, and it certainly appears like Crimea is still Russian, because the losses incurred during the siege of Sevastopol were more than Western armies will deal with, while the Eastern armies, Russia, they don't care. They don't care. And then as a result, for those of you who know nothing about Pravoslavia, Russia, etc., Sevastopol's nickname is Soldier City. And not only did it name it in the campaign during the Crimean War against England and France, because let's be honest, Turkey was a joke. They won it again in World War II when the forces of the Austrian painter went hard in the paint to try and take over Sevastopol, and the civilians of Sevastopol held them off until they eventually had to accept the fact that they were not getting Sevastopol. And that's a good thing, because had they got Sevastopol, they would have had access to the oil production of the entire Caucasus region. And that would have, while that probably would not have allowed the Germans to actually win, they, in theory, could have kept the fight going until people started looking at, armistices and stuff. I mean, think about, say the Battle of the Bulge. The number one problem with the Battle of the Bulge and the attack on Arnhem or whatever it was, is the German tanks ran out of fuel. That entire campaign ends completely different if the Germans have ample fuel. Had they captured Sevastopol, they would have. And they would have broken Russia in half, since most of the land lease equipment that America was sending Russia, which was, basically everything, was coming through the Black Sea to Sevastopol. So yeah, had the Germans got Sevastopol, Russia probably would have fallen, because without American food and boots and ammo and every other thing, Russia was not going to be able to hold off the Germans. So if you are a Russian and you are one of the guys who have a family member that sacrificed himself in the Great Patriotic War, just remember, you won because of the United States. And Stalin even said so. Yeah, that's right. Everybody's favorite, Joseph Stalin, not his real name. His real name was Dostoevsky or some shit. He said in a speech that America is a nation of industry that builds equipment without which Russia never could have won World War II. The Germans would have pushed their asses all the way back to frickin' Asia. I mean, for the longest time, before they even got their T-34s in service, they were using American Lee and Grant model tanks. The Russians have a nickname for them. They called them the coffin for seven brothers. So that lets you know that they weren't huge fans of them. But they also got their share of Sherman tanks. They got their share of American half-tracks and American trucks. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Towards the middle and end of the war, when the Russian army actually becomes a threat under Zhukov, every damn leather boot the Russian soldiers was wearing and every greatcoat that they were wearing was an American-made item. I mean, they couldn't actually produce that shit themselves. And the vast majority of their ration packs were American-made. They were living on Spam. And sunflower seeds, oddly enough, because even the frickin' World War II Russian soldiers were Gopniks, and apparently they like to squat in trenches and eat samichi, so, which is my bad pronunciation for sunflower seed in Russian. See, here's the problem with that, and Firefly, I'm not saying it's the problem, because I'm not. First off, I'm going to take you as saying that because you're actually speaking in good faith and you're not just trying to be a wing. If America had not put boots on the ground, the Third Reich would still exist. Russia was not going to take Germany without American pressure on the Western Front. It was never going to happen. If America had not landed, Britain by that time was a freaking joke. And I don't even mean that to be mean. It's just that they had been in the war for so long and lost so many men. The British couldn't even put together offensives. They were done. They were over, right? If it were not for American troops taking the beaches and airdropping all over the hell and just being Americans, the Germans could have put all of their troops on that frickin' eastern line, blew up all the bridges, and held the Russians probably till the end of time. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And no matter what equipment we gave the Russians, it wasn't going to change the fact that the Germans, by and large, had better shit. And we were never going to give the Russians Garand rifles. You can count that shit right out. Under no circumstance was the United States Department of War ever going to give Russians. Here is a man scorpion that I've put a nice thick coat of clear coat on. These are metal figures, so you have to. If I don't put a nice thick coat of clear coat, and then dull coat, and then go back and find all the areas where the paint rubbed off of the metal and repaint it. See, that's something Shadow and I are constantly fighting about. Shadow's always going on about metal figures, and I'm like, I hate metal figures. You breathe on them wrong, the paint rubs off. These guys are all primered with incredibly expensive primer. And again, you touch them wrong, the paint wants to rub off of them. Greased, everything put together. You know, they primered with $19 a can, freaking rip me shop. Does it paint from rubbing? I said maybe this is going to right. I've looked into the Weimar Republic, and if you actually look into the life your average German was going through during the Weimar Republic, you realize that the National Socialist Workers' Party was almost a given. It was like, how could it not come into existence, right? Because a lot of people don't seem to understand that during the Weimar Republic, the universities were pushing every kind of degeneracy you can think of. Germany had basically become just a land of whores. There are people who talk about how there would be mother-daughter teams of whores literally out on the street. There were numerous, something you don't hear about very much, but during the Weimar Republic era, there were numerous communist uprisings where, you know, communist parties tried to overthrow the German government. So the National Socialist government, which I would consider to be, you know, basically communists because I'm an American, and I think all collectivists are basically communists. The National Socialists kind of were reactionary. And no, I'm not defending their actions before somebody starts saying, oh, he's apologizing. I'm not defending their actions. What I'm telling you is I understand how they came about. And here's another thing I want you guys to think about. You always hear about how the Germans had those big, massive book burnings, right? First off, the United States, through Amazon, has banned more books than the National Socialists ever even dreamed of banning, right? But, you know, and I'll give you guys a chance. Take a wild guess when they talk about how the Germans burnt books, right? I want one of you guys to tell me what the question is that's never answered. It's never even spoken about. Let's see who gets this right. Let's see who's super based and has actually did a little bit more studying on this than, you know, your average soft-brained person. Yeah, of course. If you're okay, if you're talking communism as in a family or an extended family working all together to survive, then of course that works. Of course that works. Because I mean that's natural. That's a natural thing, right? You are going to sacrifice and work hard for your family, for your people. But as soon as it gets above, the extended family, then you're going to have some asshole come into power who don't give a shit about you. And they're going to F you over. And then you end up on Cannibal Island in Siberia. Exactly. Cold Iron and Firefly. When they show the Germans burning books, they don't tell you the title of the books. Books were basically about pederasty, pedophilia, homosexuality, trans shit, which started in the Weimar Republic. The whole transsexual whatever, that shit was pushed in Weimar Republic. And just horrible books like that, I mean, think about it. One of the great, supposedly, psychologists of all time, Freud. What's his answer to everything? Oh, you must want to sleep with your mom. Wait, what? No, I don't want to sleep with my mom. How about that? I mean, I mean, you're a psychiatrist and you're sitting there trying to figure out why people act the way they act. And you come to, oh, yeah, you want to have sex with your mom. It's like, what's wrong with you people? You know? That's some weird shit, right? But no, the books they were burning were terrible books. No one should have ever read those books. Those books, most of them are still illegal in the United States. Those are not books that we ran over there and immediately said, you know what? Maybe we should make these books legal and start handing them out in school and shit. You know? I mean, it's why Germany gets the reputation in the modern day for like all the sickest shit, like, yeah, the Scheiße porn and all that kind of shit. Well, why? Why did the Germans get that reputation? And it was because foreign populations that lived amongst the Germans, had the Germans been over a barrel because of the shitty economy, and could basically force them to do all the most degenerate shit that you can think of. You know what I mean? So you've got like this 1930s porn where a mother and her very own daughter are sleeping with the guy, and and they're doing farmyard stuff and they're doing all this like crazy stuff, and it's being made out to be like a good thing, and like a movie that my mom likes an awful lot, and she forces me not to run my mouth while she's watching it, Swing Kids. And it's about, the guys that want to go to the clubs and do the swing music and do swing dancing, which we do in America, and I used to actually be pretty good at. My second wife and I went swing dancing quite often, right? But the thing in the movie that they don't touch on a lot is the underlying story of the movie, which for American audiences they took out, was homosexuality. That, the swing kids, they were like gay people, right? And that was something that, the very stiff and unforgiving Hugo Boss wearing element of the government was not down with. So, yeah, there was a lot of, during that time in Germany, the Weimar Republic, there was a lot of child trafficking. There was a lot of underage type stuff, Like all of the worst shit that you think of happening in these super liberal areas, well, that Germany was the starting place of it. And then after the NSDP took over, and again, I'm not a huge fan of any NSDP collectivism. And yes, I do think that they are a leftist government because of the whole collectivism thing. You know, because a left government always wants collectivism, whereas a right government always wants individual private property. So that's kind of a tell right there. If anybody tries to argue that the NSDP was a right-leaning country or ideology, or that fascism itself is a right-leaning ideology, the second they started trying to collectivize and tell everybody what they could make, own, etc. I'm sorry, Julia. I'm sorry. I know I'm talking about your country's past and maybe not the most wonderful parts of it. But, like, literally, yeah, the second that they start talking about collectivizing and socializing, there is no doubt that that is a left-wing ideology. I mean, you know. So it is what it is. And yes, Julia, I do apologize if the headache comes from me going off on history, but I am a history nut. I love history. And I like looking at both sides of history. For what it's worth, obviously I supported the Tsar. But all the capitalist countries allowed the Tsar to be murdered because there was that period we call World War I, where oddly enough, every nation, kingdom, whatever that was like had a Christian ruler had to be destroyed. You know what I mean? Like Austro-Hungary had to be destroyed.
Howdy.
Germany had to be destroyed.
No, it didn't.
Serbia and Yugoslavia had to be destroyed. Russia had to be destroyed. If it was a nation that had a Christian ruler, it had to be destroyed. World War I was the war where they made it happen.
I will take years and years of World War II before I would take a week in a trench in World War I. I said what I said.
I'm not going to argue.
I'd trek through Europe, the Pacific Theater, no problem. Probably die, but no.
Yeah, easy to die in the Pacific. Every bamboo's just waiting to get you. You know what I mean?
But no, a week in a trench in World War I, no.
Why? You don't want your feet rotting off? I mean, come on.
No, having to battle the rats and sepsis and no.
Yeah, rotten feet. Japanese creeping around, doing what they do best, ninja style bullshit.
I mean, see, that's the thing, man. Like, I had, like, the majority of my great uncles and both my grandfathers were in European theater.
Correct.
And then there's this tiny little corner of the family that was the Pacific Theater, and they were shot the fuck out. They were like, you don't know how bad that shit was. And I was like, because I mean, you think of it, if you're facing Germans, the occasional Italian, you are still dealing with kindred. These are still, people will debate it, but these are still Christian people. Majority of the time,
they're still
relatable.
Still your people.
They're absolutely relatable. Whereas the Japanese, good grief.
Yeah, them boys was on their own level, wasn't they? Canadian hand grenades. You know what? The more I think about that, the less I like it.
Treachery.
Yeah. You know why? Because that's just treacherous bullshit.
That's some original Night of the Long Knives bullshit.
And what makes it even worse, it's like Canadians are bragging about basically being the most scummy, dishonorable people on the planet.
Well, I mean, they're Canadian.
No, but I'm just saying, like when America took trenches, we didn't have to behave that way. We just took them. We didn't have to be like, oh, we're going to, and at some point, I think the Canadians forgot that the Germans were their brothers. And I've heard Bear say stuff like, when we show up, that sounds like some weak ass shit, honestly. It's kind of like when people try to put over like the partisan women that would go into a bar and seduce a German soldier and take him out. And when he got to the alley, her partners would cut his throat.
Yep.
I find nothing proud or honorable about that. That is the most cowardly bullshit I've ever heard of. But then again, I was a soldier, so I have opinions about this. Sending a woman in to get some horny 19-year-old to follow her out so you can murder her. Yeah, that's not even warfare. That's terrorism.
Viet Cong did similar.
Yeah, that's some shit a savage does. That is not what you do in war. And I don't even care.
Not to sound completely libtardy here, but war really does bring out the worst in people. It's just when.
War brings out the worst in civilians. Look at the average American soldier in any war. We're the good guys almost every time. We're the ones that will come in and blow your village up and then stop and heal you and evac you to a hospital. Why? Because I don't know why. Because that's how we are. Right? Now, if you fight with us, we're going to throw down to the hamburger. But if you, once we take you out, our medics treat you like you're one of us. You might have been a member of some SS squad giving us no end of hell 30 minutes ago. But now you're just a wounded soldier and you're going to the hospital and they'll figure it out there.
Oh, you're Third Reich intel and a scientist? Well, you can become our new CIA.
Right. But the ham thing, it's like, it's one of those things that the first time I heard it, I said, well, that's cool. And then the more I thought about it, and I thought about, okay, these Canadians knew that the guys on the other side, the Germans, were human beings, and they weren't doing good, right? They were not doing good. They were not getting the rations they needed. Everything was sucking, right? And they were so happy to get a couple cans of Canadian soup. So the fact that you use their desperation for shitty Canadian soup to trick them into getting blown up is just like, just run up to somebody in a wheelchair and just kick them in the fucking face. Right? And then brag about it for the next 60 years. Remember that time those guys were starving to death and we tricked them by saying we'd give them food, but instead we blew them up? It's like, nah, I don't care for that shit. Not that America hasn't done some effed up shit, but that is not a braggable thing. That's not braggable. As a matter of fact, that's a thing people should be embarrassed about. Remember the time we were so dishonorable to our brothers in arms, even though they were on the other side, that,
Can't we just bring the Holy Roman Empire back already?
Well, I would say the Holy Roman Empire, but I would say the Eastern Empire.
I'll just bring it all back at this point. God knows we need it.
Yeah, point of pride, acting like that. No better than the enemy you're fighting at that point. See, the thing is, and I don't know if it was always this way with the United States Army, but when I joined in the end of '88, beginning of '89, we were held to the highest standards, especially as an infantryman. And that meant that if you wounded an enemy soldier, you were expected to make sure he was rendered aid and to pull him out of the bad situation, right? We just did not treat enemies that way. Even in Iraq, when they would surrender to us, which they did en masse, because of course they did, right? We would take their boots, we'd put them in a big pit with a razor wire around it until, you know, the guys could come to pick them up and take them away. And they would be given food and water, everything that they could ever need. You know, it would have been easy for us to put them in one of those big trenches that the M88 armor recovery vehicles make and just mow them down with an M60. But we don't do that shit because we're Americans. And a lot of times we end up dying because of our, you know, insistence on being the good guys. I mean, there's that one movie where the special forces team encounters the kid on the mountain. They refuse to kill the kid. And the kid immediately runs back to his village and lets all the terrorists there know that there's a special forces A team up on the mountain. And then these guys end up getting into a days and days long firefight. And they're outnumbered hundreds to one. And had the Americans just been like, shot that kid with a silenced pistol, they never would have had to deal with any of that shit, right? But they wouldn't do it. They would not do it. So if you are an enemy country and somebody decides to go to war with you, your best hope is that it's us. Well, or your second best hope. Your best hope is that it's France, because they'll surrender before they even get there.
Oh, come on. They surrendered once. Okay. And second of all, okay,
that's just a win.
I'd have done the same damn thing. It was either communist Europe or guys fighting communism. I'd have opened the gate too. Name one other time France surrendered. One.
Okay, which time are you naming? The Germans?
Yeah. Now, they bowed out of Vietnam. That's true, too, and we kind of picked up where they left off. But name any other time where France didn't fight like rabid animals.
Oh, no, I have to look into that. You may have a point.
I mean, the French were not to be slept on.
Well, I know under Napoleon they were just, you know.
I mean, I say that with English ancestry on both sides. We didn't get along with France, but I mean, credit where credit is due.
I had relatives of mine die in at least 3 armies during World War I and II.
No, I really wish. Yeah, me too, Simon.
Because I had Russian ancestry, German ancestry, and American ancestry. So, you know, everybody involved in those wars was someone I was related to. Okay, you want to talk about some Trench Crusade? Yes, the official minis suck. They're getting softer than shit, and the more they talk, the less interested everyone is in their game.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, Jack Black. I play this game, Cossack 2. And in Cossack 2, you can play Napoleonic Wars and shit. And I always play the French. And I wreck fools. My Fusiliers and Grenadiers. I mean, as long as you keep them fed with plenty of gunpowder so they can actually go to work, those guys are rough, man. And another unit you wouldn't think is great is your scouts. Like if the enemy unit sets up a line of infantry to try to block you or something, and you just send scouts in to start peppering them, and because the scouts are skirmishing and using the terrain, they're a lot harder for the musketmen to actually get rid of. Maybe I should play the British again and double check and see if the British got riflemen like Sharps riflemen, because that would be fun. But I will say this: the game Cossacks, an incredibly old game, a very old game, and you start out playing a battle, you versus whomever, and there's like many factions you can fight: Austrians, British, like whoever fought Napoleon, you can fight, right? And all the armies are a bit different. They have different units, different this, different that. And the first thing you got to do is you have to take control of the resources of the towns near you. And then I don't give a shit what you do, unless it's food. You always keep all the food. But every other resource that you can get, whether it's silver, gold, glass, whores, I don't care what, you trade that shit for gunpowder. You make sure you have so much gunpowder that and however much gunpowder you think you have is never going to be enough, to quote the song. It'll never be enough. Never. Because you'll be sitting there and you'll think, well, I have 100,000 tons of gunpowder in the old armories. I'm doing pretty good, right? And then you'll get in a run and gun against the enemy you're fighting against. Muskets are going left and right. Plow, plow, plow. Cannons, and bombards. Everything's going to shit. And that gunpowder ticker is just dropping. And you're like, oh shit, right? And so a lot of battles in Cossack end up being won by whichever army has gunpowder by the end of the damn battle. Because once you run out of gunpowder, what's your choice? Fix bayonets? If the enemy has gunpowder and you're going to try and fix bayonets and charge into their line, I mean, you might make it to the line. You might kill some of these guys, but you're going to lose half of your unit on the way in. And unless your troops are incredibly disciplined, they're just going to break and run. Right. So, and then I think one of my favorite units was the French Grenadiers. And they had this special ability: if enemy were getting close, they could throw like hand grenades at them. They weren't like modern hand grenades. They were like light a wick and chuck it. You know what I mean? But that's why they were called the Grenadiers, because they actually run around with grenades and shit, right? But maybe I'll try the English and see if I can field like Sharps riflemen as a skirmish unit, because that would be fun, win or lose, And then another thing I learned about the game is, yeah, it's nice to eventually be able to field all of those super fancy cavalry units, you know, the hussars with all their short pistols and sabers and all that shit. But being the power gamer that I am, it's even more fun to field like 10 times as many of that in Lancers because they're cheap. And then when you need them, you just hold them back. And after, you exchange a bunch of shots with the muskets, have just a horde of Lancers charge in full blast. And 9 times out of 10, any enemy units there, crushed. Because they're literally getting ran down by, 50 Lancers, full blast, and you'll drive them all the way back to their secondary lines like that, and take all their cannons. Because the good thing about the Cossack game is, if you kill the crew of a cannon and you move friendly units near it, you can choose to destroy the cannon, spike the gun, or recrew it, and now it's your cannon. That was the game where I fell in love with the grape shot. Yeah. Cossack Sioux have a big, like a 12-pound Napoleon cannon set up to fire grape shot. Like an enemy unit comes marching down the road and they don't see the cannon, and you're just like, all right, boom, and you just see half of a regiment vanish. They're like, ha ha. And the bombards are fun because you can hide them like behind terrain, and they fire indirect. So it's just like the enemy unit comes and they see your unit set up in line ready to fight. So they immediately set up to fight you. And as soon as they form into line, like 2 or 3 bombards land in the middle of them, and you just see like clusters of men dead. And like, and then if you play the game long enough, you do the one thing you really wanted to do, and that is you cross the river to the enemy part of the map, and you take their gunpowder manufacturing from them. And at that point, they're basically done. It's like, surrender, because you can no longer create gunpowder. I mean, they can still buy it, though. That's the thing. They can still trade, other stuff for gunpowder, so they can stay in the war for a little while. But I mean, it's you automatically having way more gunpowder production versus them having 0 gunpowder production and having to buy it. Eventually, just because of the way the economy works, they will run out of gunpowder. And then what are they going to do? Try to fix bayonets and charge you all day? That's a bad move, let me tell you. Not the best idea. Never be enough. So yeah, I got smacked in the pee-pee a little bit by Mr. Skillet.
What?
And,
What now?
Huh?
What I do?
I said I got smacked in the pee-pee a little bit by the Skillet.
I didn't do that.
He was like, look here, bitch ass, Anglophile. Don't talk shit about the Franks.
I was just talking. I was just talking.
Oh, no, I'm not at all upset that you did it. Every now and then, a guy like me needs somebody to, drag him back there and say, hold on now. You're talking about the same country that at a point conquered continental Europe. Massacred a shit ton of freaking Austrians like it was a joke. And then made the big mistake of invading Russia.
No, it's just growing up, it was a big belly full of the 100 Years' War. And how we earned our coat of arms and all that fun stuff.
Ugh.
The
I
state
don't know
of North
about
Carolina. I
how
found this
the
little ticket thing the other day and I actually wanted to ask you about it. Seems like stuff that'd be up your alley, man. It's this tiny, like, little slip of paper, and I think it's a note, a bank note. It says the state of North Carolina will pay the bearer of the
might
treasurer's
be
office,
Confederacy money.
North Carolina, 1868.
So it's not Confederacy money. It could be state script, which was allowed for a little while. Believe me, us poor guys in Commonwealth of Kentucky know all about that shit. Typically, they would pay certain workers in private script because it meant you could never leave.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
And that's how you get like songs like, you know,
Oh, sold your soul to the company store, stuff like that. Oh, okay.
yeah, because you come over from wherever you come over, Germany, Scots, Irish, whatever you are, you get a job in the coal mines, and instead of paying you good old US dollars, they decide that they're going to pay you company script, and you can only spend the company script at the company store where everything is more expensive than it would be if you just went to damn town. And then you have like 3 wars in Harlan County because, you know, not all at once. They like to take breaks between their wars. But yeah, that's a thing in Kentucky. If you ever want to look into it, there's actually a song called If I Ever Get Out of Harlan Alive.
Okay, on the bottom it's for public treasury.
It could be, you know how you can buy like savings bonds?
Yeah, that might be what it is.
That maybe South Carolina or North Carolina or whatever was trying to sell bonds.
Okay.
See,
I went to an estate sale the other day.
Money that you find
Bought a bunch of junk.
Yeah, it's fake. Now, for whatever reason, I believe you can go on Amazon and you can actually buy packs of Confederate money. Bills, though, not coins, because let me tell you, a Confederate mint penny sells for millions. And I believe the last time anyone even thought about it, they said there might be 3 in existence. And the main reason for that was Confederates just didn't have the metal to make coins. I mean, everything that was made out of metal was being used to make munitions, right? So it was bills. And different states had their own bills. But then on top of that, you had an actual national Confederate, money. Last time I went to St. Augustine, you could buy it. And it just came in a little pack. And when you open it up, it was 100% reproduction Confederate bills. But I mean, who gives a shit? Because where are you going to buy with it? Nobody's going to take Confederate money. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right. Here's the problem, and I will get back to this a bit. And I wish you'd been here yesterday. You'd have heard me rant about Trench Crusade for like an hour.
Oh, I caught it. I catch it on the replay every night, man.
Yeah, but I'm talking to Simon. If the people who created Trench Crusade had kept their effing mouths shut and just put the game out, they'd probably be a threat to a lot of big companies right now. because when that shit very first hit, the internet was blowing up. I mean, Twitch was nothing but there. Like YouTube was lore channels and people talking about this and that and demons and the loyalists and ghost trench ghosts. I mean, it was really super exciting. How exciting! I built a 4-foot by 4-foot trench board full of trenches and 3 or 4 different armies, just so that me and my brother would have a wide selection of armies, right? Like I made him, I think the demon he got was Belial. And I 3D printed this really hot chick, but then I put like demon wings on her and shit like that. And then of course I 3D printed some kind of futuristic Byzantine guys. And that become my army. So, I had Byzantine priests and Byzantine and Russian looking soldiers. And I said I was of the Order of St. Methodist.
Yeah, 2 anchorite shrines.
Which meant I could have the anchorite shrines. And,
bunch of stigmatic nuns had to have light armor.
But you're forgetting one thing about the Sigmarite shrines or whatever.
You could put guns on them.
Put guns on those bitches.
Yeah.
That's right. So you've got the Russians / Byzantines coming in with 2 shrines coming in hot.
And what sucks about that, what absolutely sucks is vanilla Heretic Legion can still take most everything. Because of the damn artillery witch.
Well, once you get your force up to where you can afford 2 artillery witches, it's like it's like get out of here with that.
If you can't drop her, if you don't have long range to get rid of her, she is just going to perpetually be a problem.
Yep. So what do you need? You need a sniper priest.
Can Trench Pilgrims have sniper priests?
I believe that they do, yes, sir. I believe they can take sniper priest. But even an artillery witch against 2 of the shrines that have guns on them, it's like, all right, throw your artillery at me, and then I'm going to put boom boom back at you. And then, of course, this guy I haven't painted yet, but you know what he is. This guy's old. What makes him special is when I flip him over, the cross on his back is an Orthodox cross. What are these called? They're the ones that supposedly are mutants. He's got like the book. He's got the Bible on his hip and
the
communicants.
Yeah, you can't use those in Saint Methodius either. The castigators, communicants. Okay.
Yeah, I think you gotta get rid of them. But I've got it where if I wanted to, I could fill a shit ton of them. And but the main thing was just the Byzantine troops with shotguns and whatever. Port Orc Child, past midnight, I've been that's the whole point. And yes, I've seen your big hat dwarves, and I have to stand up, walk over here real quick. Grab a miniature from a whole, 20-figure unit.
Getting a little slim there, Mr. James.
Am I?
Yep.
Well, I mean, shit. All right. I don't even work out. So this is for you, Cal, and I might have to take a picture of it and post it for you. And for those of you who are like, what the fuck is that? It's a chaos. It's Chaos Dwarf. The old school ones that had the big hats and their beards were all curly, like Assyrian style beards and shit. No, I have a few of the original ones. And then years and years ago, when I decided to do 3D printing, one of the first things I looked for was Chaos Dwarfs. And I found a guy who happened to have STLs that were all like 100% dead on the old school Chaos Dwarf. Like, let me show you another thing real quick. Where are they? Right here. So, of course, I downloaded that and I just started printing out probably a couple hundred of each because I could get like 10 or 15 on the build plate. And I could print that out in about an hour and a half on my Mars 2 Pro. So I was cranking them, right? So here's the other thing I have a whole plethora of. Now that shield comes from like, I don't know where that shield comes from, but you know. So yeah. Yeah, long story short is I've just got a shit ton of Chaos Dwarfs and a shit ton of Hobgoblins. The original ones, not the new ones. For Warhammer fantasy battles. And since, like I said, I only ever play 7th edition anyway, who am I impressing? I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, if I want to use 3D printed models, that's what I'm going to do. And my opponent can enjoy the game or not. Because it's not like I'm using, like, you know, some kind of ultra powerful 3D model that's going to dominate the whole world. I'm using a freaking Chaos Dwarf with an axe. So it's like, get over yourself. You know what I mean? Now, they might not like my Chaos Wizard mounted on a, what's it? It's not a Manticore. It's like a Lamassu or something like that. But how I got that is I bought the Kings of War. I am up late, Showback. I bought the Kings of War Infernal Dwarf on Lamassu or whatever it is, right? And then I cut his head off around there with my beloved, you know, saw. You can't even see teeth on this bad boy, but it goes through everything. You just wouldn't even believe it, right? And once I had his head cut nice and flat, I 3D printed a big dwarfy hat. Exactly that scale, glued it on. So this guy's on his giant Lamassu, and he's got like his staff and whatever, and he's got that big freaking gigantic Warhammer style hat. I did the same thing with the I bought the Man-O-War Bull Centaurs, and then I actually, you know, put the Warhammer Chaos style heads on because, you know, because that's what I do. That's just what I do all the time. I am looking for. Do you hear that? Did you hear that? Skill?
Looking for
fur, and it's not snake bite leather I'm looking for. I'm looking for a brown.
Ron.
These freaking bars that I have. So I don't want it to be dark, but also, you know, I want it to have wood grain, you know, charred brown. What if charred brown would be a good look? I've got these. I'm not sweating the loss of Trench Crusade. Yeah, Trench Crusade may as well be dead.
Yeah.
It is the weirdest kind of elevator of a game. Yeah, the big Persian Empire hat, but the dwarves. I have so many of those, man. Because, like I said, I went through a whole 3D printing freaking run, and I have a whole army of those dwarves. I've got their freaking missile launchers and bombards, all their cannons.
Excuse me.
I've got whole centaur dudes. And then, of course, it's all backed up by these dirt cheap, stab your ass in the back in 3 second hog. Now, I can, if I want, dig into my orc army and bust out Grimgor, Ironhide, and his black orc buddies. Because apparently your Chaos Dwarves, not apparently, it's a fact, Chaos Dwarves under their last army list, their codex, they could have black orcs as part of their army. So, I mean, but they're expensive. I mean, Grimgor's like 300 points by himself. You know? Worth every bit of it. There's like when me and Angry Tabletop Nerd were talking, there's like one guy in 40K, and that's the chaos bullshit supreme guy that'll probably kill him, maybe. But pretty much everyone else, if Grimgor lands a charge, it's pick that shit up. You know what I'm saying? Just because he gets so many numbers of attacks at such a high weapon skill and strength that, yeah, you're just not surviving that. Your unit won't even survive that, you know? And then, of course, Grimgor is surrounded with 9 of his favorite orc boys. And they're not a joke either. You know, they're also straight up assholes. And they have this great special rule in the edition I play, at least. Orcs and goblins have a rule called animosity. So every round you got to roll to see if your orcs and goblins just decide to start fighting each other. But if there's a black orc unit within X amount of range, you don't roll. Because all the orcs and goblins realize that if they piss those black orcs off, they are going to get a spanking. So,
Get a panking.
They behave themselves when old Grimgor is wandering around the battlefield. Because if they act up, he's going to show up and he's going to start knocking some heads together. And that's probably going to be a permanent situation for a lot of them, right? Time for bed. That's right. Go to bed. Go to bed and go to sleep. Little cow, go to sleep. Cow never says hi to me on WG's channel. And Malaki says something when I say stop by, he never responds.
James, what the hell?
Oh, I'm just airing my grievances.
No, I mean, by all means. It's your show.
I will set up the Festivus poll, and I will start shouting my grievances.
Who are you going to wrestle for the feats of strength?
And then we will start with feats of strength. That's right.
Glad you like it, Simon.
And I don't care what you think. That one Roman looks like you.
It's not me.
I've decided it is, though.
It's not.
I have encountered my friend Cold Iron in a Roman camp.
No, you have not.
And I think...
It's too much work to put myself into those.
And I think could there be a better place for Cold Iron to have ended up? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely wouldn't want to end up like me, just trekking around, constantly getting into trouble,
Hey, you're having fun.
nowhere to sleep but rocks, nothing to eat but rocks. At least I got a pup.
You're having a good time.
Having a pretty good time. But you know what one of the best times was?
Hmm.
Stopping by the Roman fort and hanging out with my bro Cold Iron.
Oh my God. You're as bad as your brother.
And you know who else loved it?
Hmm.
Bear. Bear loved it too. You
That
see
is
that
not
picture
me.
how happy Bear was while you were patting him?
It
He was,
wasn't me. For fuck's sake, it was not me.
but it looked like you.
Okay. When you do the clip art and you do generic background, like literally what I did was I clipped from whatever that random made for TV Bible story was about, ooh, the Romans are so bad picking on them, oy vey. And I just literally clipped one after another and then scrambled it in the back and then had it filtered. And if one of them happened to look like me, I don't have any Roman blood in me. I don't know why. I
Well,
don't
you
know.
don't know that.
I do know that.
Well, no, because by this time, the Romans that had invaded Britain, how are you going to tell?
I wasn't. My people weren't in Britain at that time.
You get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. Point of fact, it was Rome that hired us to cut trees for them at first, and then, if you believe the tale, King Vortigern, they sent for soldiers. Rome didn't have soldiers, but gave him money and hired the Saxons.
Ah. Well, here's the thing. Is all of you Anglos kind of look alike to me? So when I looked at
You
it, I immediately
Anglos.
thought, yeah, that's Cold Iron Skillet. It looks just like you. Of course, the other three looked just like him too. And I was like, look, there's just a shit ton of Cold Iron Skillets over here.
Oh my God.
And then I thought, well, that's awesome though,
That's
because
not me.
we all like Cold Iron Skillets.
Now you're patronizing me.
So the more Cold Iron Skillets, the better.
You are patronizing me. You are being
I don't
passive
even know
aggressive.
how to patronize you.
Oh my God, that is not true at all. You were a surgeon with Bear. When you were trying to aggravate Bear, you were just chef's kiss. You just crawled right up his skin.
If I patronize anyone, I want them to know that it is not something I know how to do. It just must be some sort of talent.
Oh, a savant.
Right. It's like because I'm not 100% sure what patronizing is.
Humoring them to mock them.
Okay.
It's kind of like in the South when, somebody walks in, they're like, watch out for this guy. Ooh, this guy,
Or the old lady says, bless your heart.
Yeah, it's like, I'm so interested. Tell me more. Tell me all about it.
Oh my God. Then I can patronize. There was this thing I used to do, and my brother hated it. He would come up and be like, hey, let me tell you something. And he would tell the whole story, right? And when he got done, I would go, oh my God, that was the best story ever. Could you please tell me that again? And he would get so mad. He would just be like, why are you like you? I'd be like, I don't know. Like our parents are both nice. Everybody loves them. They teach Sunday school. They, like strangers come over and mow their lawn just because of how beloved they are in the region. And then me. And then there's me. I show up to the church and argue with the preacher about shit, tell him he's wrong.
Don't do that.
Well, he's not a priest, he's a preacher.
Well, I got in trouble for that as a youngster. I asked where the rapture was, and that was
Oh, that is so interesting that you bring that up.
that was a talking to.
But we'll discuss this later when it's just us.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah, I had questions, but anyway, my mom tells me the guy absolutely loved me, thought I was the best. Can't wait till the next time I visit. But he's also like a combat vet from Vietnam that decided to do what he does. So I don't think he really gave a shit what my opinions were. Even though I'm 50 years old, to him, I'm a kid. He's like, it's just some fucking kid talking shit. Who cares? But I'm going to tell you something here, Cold Iron.
uh-oh.
I want to see a little bit more of you in some of these memes.
All right.
Just a
It's
little bit.
it's difficult to do.
Not. I understand, and I'm not rushing you. Take your time, do your thing. Just the appearance of a Cold Iron in some of these memes would be, I think, chef's kiss A plus plus.
I was in them before. I was the wizard you were constantly stealing from.
Except for the one time when you just had really bad gas. You're
Yeah.
like, fuck, take
I was
this
like,
back.
just take it. I'm done. And I actually had really bad gas. I actually had to leave work.
I've never had gas so bad that I'm like, guys, I am leaving because
Oh, dude,
if
bad
I
stomachs
stay
run in the
here,
family.
you guys will hate me by tomorrow.
Mm.
I do not intend to lose my job over what's getting ready to happen.
Oh no, I just told I just told him, I said, yo, I'm messed up. I've taken all the gas X in the break room. I'm just gonna go. And they're like, okay. They're like, it's cool.
Well, I mean, what are they going to say? No, you got to stay here and shit yourself.
Well, they already kind of owe me because way back when COVID first started, I bowed out and let all the guys with families take all the hours.
Well, that was nice of you.
I was transitory back then. I was kind of like just out of school, just out of the program. Didn't really have too many bills. And so I was like, you guys go ahead. All right, I'm gonna take this time off and just go fishing and stuff.
Yeah, COVID didn't affect me because I live in a state where we just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, Georgia didn't really give a fuck either. It's just, the company had to follow the mandate. And
Right.
so they let me go. And so, yeah, you got to steal free treasure. I had bad gas. I was not okay that day.
Right. So how are you and Shadow doing? Are you still grumping at each other?
Well, we weren't actually grumping. It is a disagreement, a philosophical disagreement of how to approach NPCs and world building in role playing.
Yeah, I saw one of your posts where you have me and I'm sitting there like, I just make the world and let them do whatever they want. And then Shadow's all like, they'll do what I tell them to do, blah, blah, blah.
Well, he said that on his own show. Like, he literally went off on a tangent and he was like, the DM is God. It's going to be my vision. Oh, your character has plans? Think again. That's not how life works. Blah, blah, blah. Immerse yourself in the world. It's like, look, dude, if the world sucks, according to your vision, if you don't have players, you don't have a game. Let the dice make some decisions once in a while. If there's no he is going to keep characters safe for the sake of a story. He is going to keep NPCs safe for the sake of a story. And he readily admitted this. Like, he freely admitted it. He's like, I was like, okay, but do you run like that all the time? Like, is this just how you approach games?
See, I don't keep NPCs alive for the sake of the story, but I will, for the sake of the story, allow an NPC to realize when he's getting ready to die, what's up, Big James? And try to get away. And if he makes it, he makes it. And if you don't make it, well, then it's time to move on to whatever else
Yeah,
I would
I mean,
do.
He just doesn't
But
like player agency.
I'm not going to like just make a ruling. Guy gets away because nah. Dice are going to determine that. But yeah, like I said, if you're fighting a wizard and he already has the plan to maybe escape, then he might have, some contingencies. So when you come after him with your bullshit, he might decide, yeah, they've knocked me down to about half hit points. I'm going to pop this contingency and teleport back to my, secret place. And I think that's perfectly fine because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes recurring villains are cool. And sometimes they're not as cool as you wish they would be. It really depends,
And I still can't get over how he doesn't like Hyperborea. It's too historically adjacent. It's like, wow, dude.
Here's the thing. And I say this with all the love of a brother. Shadow grew up in California. His ideas are very West Coast. And unfortunately, or fortunately for him, depending on your viewpoint, Arduin is a very left coast game.
It's very. I looked at it.
It was created in like San Francisco or wherever.
It's cool, but at the same time, I'm like, you could trim this just a little. Like you could snip a piece or two off the end just to make it clean. I mean,
Well,
maybe.
I've got it because Shadow sent me all the PDFs, and I've looked at it, and I thought, just doesn't do it for me, But like I keep telling people, the thing that really does it for me with Hyperborea is all of the R.E. Howard Lovecraftian kind of shit, right? That is the thing that most gets my old gizzard going.
That's what got me about it. I sailed the seas, so to speak, for my first copy, and just browsing through it, I was like, okay, this is not what I thought it was.
No, because some people always try to lie, and they always try to be like, yeah, it's kind of this Gonzo game. No, it's not.
That's exactly how they explained it. They were just like, it's a little too all over the place, Gonzo. It's got too many elements. And I'm like, all right, because like the game Shadow, like, what is it? The Barrows and Borderlands?
Yeah.
That's
basically just straight up Gamma World.
Yeah, it's way too Gonzo for me. That is like radiation levels and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah.
Well, you can get radiation levels in Hyperborea. There are some super ancient.
Yeah, but it's cooler in Hyperborea. It's cooler in Hyperborea.
Yeah, there's some super ancient Atlantean weapons that will smack your ass with some radiation.
And you cannot beat the bestiary in Hyperborea. That is just a.
Well, I'm waiting for Jeff Talanian to actually come out with an actual bestiary book.
Oh God!
Whether he leaves the ones from this book in, or just does all new ones, or a combination of the two, I will be happy either way. And the city state, I think that is going to be the best. A box set that just goes into a little bit of detail about Comorium. Yeah, that's going to be good. And it's going to add 2 new classes, the Reaver and the Seer. And supposedly the Reaver is going to be kind of like a pirate or a raider type.
I could see it.
Well, I mean, if it's a /raider type, that's just another perfect character. And
so kind of like every elf ever, but with spells.
Abilities.
cannot find.
I mean,
did you end up pulling the trigger on those miniatures?
start, opening doors or climbing the walls and lowering the ropes.
The James of Hyperborea miniatures. Did you actually get those?
Yeah, they're supposed to be here in a few days.
Oh God. I mean, it's cool to have a miniature of yourself. I promise it is. And James disappeared. And I promised when he left I wouldn't say slurs anymore. So we're just going to have happy thoughts. Kittens. Fresh peaches. There's a happy thought. Fresh peaches and a basket of kittens. There we go, everybody. There's your happy thought. If you're allergic to peaches, I apologize. If you're allergic to kittens, well, piss off. We have kittens. And welcome to the Cold Iron Skillet Show. The first thing we will be talking about, everybody, is racism, and lots of it. Elves are just no good. They're just not as good as humans. Elves depend on humans and not the other way around. Oh, they like to pretend they're independent. Oh, their traditions. Oh, wonderful. No. Humans go forward. Humans go up. Elves, they stagnate. Uh-oh. And that is why Christ, our Lord, is king.
Part of that.
I'm sorry, what, you cut out?
The elves suck balls part was my
okay.
favorite part of that.
Okay.
I mean, Christ is king, yes, I agree, but
Yeah.
I mean, elves do suck balls. And yeah. So what I was saying though, before my computer stabbed me in the back, is the Reaver class could be the class that represents the guys that go in the middle of the night and
like a dedicated pirate class almost
to come in, yeah. And I think that could in fact be a very nice addition to the game.
That
I'll tell you what,
it doesn't not fit.
the scout in my group, bless his heart, he can't hit nothing. Like in a typical game, he might get one hit at an enemy in, but his bonus versus being surprised and shit like that has saved their ass so many times that it's just like you are a true support class because you basically exist just to make sure the rest of the group doesn't get ambushed by a giant scorpion or some shit. And as a result, they do treat him pretty well, because it's like, oh, we're traveling through a forest or through some ruins or through a cave or whatever we're doing. Send the scout first. Now, as a sad effect, pretty much we have never played a game in which the scout didn't end up within like a couple XP of being unconscious. It's like it's pretty common almost every battle for the scout to be running around being like, I've only got 6 hit points left. Because the cleric's like, who needs healing? And the scout's like, I've got 6 hit points.
I was actually a huge fan of the scout and way back in 3.5, the skirmish ability.
Yeah.
I loved that thing. Move 10 feet, add a d6. Move 10 feet, add a d6. It basically gave you spring attack for free.
Well, this guy is a little bit OP at the moment because he found a set of boots of jumping and leaping,
Mm-mm.
which doubles his ability to jump and leap. And he doesn't wear armor because as a scout, he actually gets a bonus to XP for not wearing armor. And so he can like do a running leap up to 50 feet. And he can jump straight up like 12 feet. So
Yeah, dude. Shellback. Those Scout was one of the class's original class builds that survived the cheese grinder. Wasn't the winner, but made it.
What's a cheese grinder?
666 rooms, 666 encounters. It's a traveling convention grinder.
Wow.
Was really popular in Atlanta.
Oh. Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, in 3.5, we had a ranger. He specialized in dual wielding. He was a half orc, and he was pretty cool.
Is make a 10th level character. There is no supplement that is denied you. As long as it is a wizard's product, you may use it.
Yeah, this character's name was Nathan, and he was played by BRC. So anytime you see Big Rob in chat, it was his character like 20 years ago. And man, he just did funny shit. Like there was one time, I don't know how it came up to it, but like basically someone like wished him condolences on what happened to his mom. And without like missing a beat, Rob just says, my mom was the orc. And like the other players and of course I was playing the NPCs were all like, wait, what? Yeah. Also, he was a ranger. He specialized in his short sword, long sword bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
His real love was reading. Except his eyesight wasn't so great, so he had to get a pair of round spectacles. And he collected books. And anytime he wasn't adventuring, he had a house in Bellcrest or whatever, wherever we were teaching. And he would always just be kind of chilling out, having a cup of tea and reading. He was a reader. That was his thing. So he was playing the half-orc ranger, but he was playing him very civilized. And again, I think that's because he had decided that his mom had been the orc. So maybe his father had tucked him in or something and raised him more human. I don't know how the shit that worked. Now, he did betray Hungar, though, because one time they were all fighting and a vampire come kicking the door in. And Hungar, you know, he's all hurt. He's playing his dwarf cleric. And the vampire's like, what are you doing in my castle? And I kid you not, Rob, without missing a beat, says to me, I bow down and say, I've been waiting for you, master.
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, really? And he's like, oh, yeah. So then, of course, Haas's cleric decides to smack him upside the head, and that starts the whole thing.
Vampires aren't grizzly bears. Don't try to play dead. They're already dead.
Yeah, right? They're going to eat you anyway, right? But yeah, it was funny because I decided the vampire was kind of taken aback by it. Because it's like, He comes busting in all of his fierceness, and this orc's like, "Oh, I've been waiting for you to serve you, master." And
Oh.
it's like,
Any class, Shellback, you can do whatever. Just 10th level character.
"Oh, for your thing, yeah."
Yeah, it was the rules of that thing was just all they ever said was 10th level character.
Any expansion, any book, any whatever, 10th level character. And they probably did the whole how you know how they got the rules like a 10th level character should have X amount of things. Because like I think in the DMG for 3.5 it was like a 10th level character should have X amount of magic items.
Yeah, they had a package system for like delivering gear and everything, but my character didn't carry gear. Or rather, the character I saw played and forever adopted. That is the ascetic monk from Book of Exalted Deeds.
Was pretty weird. Was the first time the dwarf warrior, played by my brother, who always only ever played dwarves for the longest time, killed a hill giant and decided that he had absolutely to make a coin purse out of the scrotum of this hill giant.
Oh, nice.
That just was how it was going to be. So, he runs up to the dead hill giant, removes the scrotum, and immediately begins, turning it inside out so that he can cure it and, and punching holes in it for the rope and everything. And after he gets it built, he is walking around with a hill giant's nutsack hanging proudly off of his belt. And like the whole rest of the group are just like looking at this guy like, what is your problem? But then when you remember that he was a battle rager, it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense though. That checks out, because my brother, I'm way too nice to, right? When we were playing AD&D, I was like, I am not getting in second AD&D, second edition. I can give a shit left. I've got all my first edition stuff. I'm going to play first edition, right? But then he went out and bought the dwarf book that had the rules for a battle rager. And he's like, can I please play battle rager? And of course, I was like, well, you're my brother, so you know the answer to that. Obviously. Now, when I was playing third edition and I didn't let this one knucklehead have monkey grip, that dude hates my guts to this day.
What? What's wrong with monkey grip?
Dual wield great weapons.
Yeah.
And
when they made Centaur a playable race, that's what everybody took.
Yeah, you would have to be large. You weren't large. He was a fighter cleric. Human fighter cleric. So, I mean, that's not the real reason he hates me. The real reason he hates me is that D&D game I showed up to 23 years ago. He was running it. And he kind of had the hots for a certain little blonde girl. That didn't work out for him. And rather than being all like, well, she wasn't dating anybody. She made her choice. It is what it is. He kind of...
It's okay to brag, James. You can straight up fist pump and say, I claimed it. Took his woman. You can...
No, she wasn't his woman. She was nobody's woman.
Exactly, but he had eyes for her.
But...
That's still victory.
He had eyes for her, but I won. But I don't want to fist bump about it because it's kind of like, whatever. That's kind of lame, But, yeah, between you and me, yeah.
Yes, it's cool, man. It's all good.
I mean, she looked around and she decided She would rather be with Gus than Griffith. I wouldn't even call him Griffith. I would say, you know that one guy in the animated series that's always running his fucking mouth? The mercenary in the Band of Hawks. He just runs his fucking mouth nonstop. And like everybody's always yelling at him and telling him to shut the fuck up. That's kind of who this guy was. I forget that character's name. I mean, was he a bad guy? Not really. Does he end up getting ate by a demon? Yes, because when the demons appear and start eating everyone, this asshole convinces himself they don't actually exist. And so, yeah, he gets ripped in half by one. Because it turns out, yeah, they do exist. 100% they exist. And ever since then, 23 years ago, no matter how much I offer him to come over to play the game, because we were pretty tight for a long time. Now, I did steal a girlfriend from him, and that was a chick from the Navy that I talk about.
Okay, there's history here.
Oh, he was madly in love with that whore. And I ran up, and I was just like, boom. It was
Who's
like
the thief?
It was like, no, it was more like Bird from Half Court. Like, I talked some shit. I made fun of his mom, and then I banged his hoe.
Oh,
And because I was a little bit ruthless back then, or to quote my boy Chappelle, cold-blooded. Oh yeah, she was a hot big booty goth chick. I showed up and I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm glad we didn't know each other back then.
You like those two?
No, it's just you've said, and your brother has confirmed that you were a bit of a hothead back then, bit of a Mr. Temper.
I could have a temper, but you wouldn't have had an issue. You're young.
I could not resist but aggravate people with tempers. I have a problem.
Yeah, but you're like 20 years younger than me.
What's Dad?
So if you knew me back then, you would have been 9. You would have ran up and said something smart, and I've been like, yeah, get away, kid. Get out.
Which is my kryptonite.
I've been like, come on, kid, go home.
It's when I say something raunchy and they get patted on the head. God.
No, if you kept talking shit, I'd tell you that either you're adopted or if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm coming home and banging your mom. That usually straightened them out.
Nah, I'd have kept going.
I used that numerous times at the comic shop when like a young person would want to,
Now, if you had said you'd tell my mom, that'd have got me.
See, no, I never said I'm going to tell your mom. I always said I was going to beat your dad's ass and fuck your mom.
Yeah, that wouldn't have fazed me. I'd have been like, "Come on and do it. She'll cook you dinner afterwards too." I'd be like, just try to aggravate him. But if you were just like, what? Where's your parents? I'm gonna tell your mother.
The problem with that whole thing would be that, okay, I don't know, your mom might be bombing bad. She might be a great cook, but then I gotta be your stepdad, you angry little bastard.
Buy me minis, stepdaddy.
Be like, I don't know if I can handle that. Like,
Can I borrow this miniature, Dad? Can I borrow this miniature?
Like, I don't know how hot your mom is, but is she this hot? I mean, I put up with this 10-year-old kid running amok through the house all day. And I can already tell. I can already tell how you are too. You would be up in my business daily.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting down trying to paint some shit. You'd be like right in there.
Mm-hmm.
I put your ass to work is what I'd have done.
Damn.
I'd have handed you some paints and some minis and been like, look, figure it out.
Oh, shit.
Get some shit painted for me. I tried that with my daughters, and they always said, yeah, we'll do it, Dad. Never painted shit. They'd come at me and be like, "Hey, would you pay for me to be in band or whatever the hell they wanted to be in?" You know, their whole high school thing, you know, and they want all the extracurriculars. I'd be like, yeah, I'll pay that couple $100 each, so
Man,
you can do your thing. But you got to promise to paint some miniatures for me. I've got they're
all
easy to
that
paint.
shit looked fun to me. I never
And
got to do it.
they'll always be like, "Yeah, we'll paint them, Dad. Don't worry about it." Not a damn one ever got painted. Be like, "You little brats, ripped your dad off. That's what you did." You were like, "We're gonna tell Dad we're gonna do stuff, and we ain't gonna do it." And of course, my youngest daughter, she played like the xylophone, but the xylophone she played was the really big one. The one that they like quill out, and it's like basically a cart. Two people play
Oh,
it.
like the maramba like style, huh?
Yeah, it was like this giant freaking thing, and two people played it at the same time. I kind of was under the impression that maybe she had a crush on the other person who was playing it. So I was just like, yeah, having teenage daughters, boy, it's the best.
Oh shit, fuck, ass, piss, butt, penis.
Yep, that is a whole collection of words. A whole collection.
Sorry.
Pretty hilarious, too. Well, I don't think any of those words really get me in trouble.
No. It shouldn't. Damn it. Oh my god, this shit's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Oh, you spilled some paint.
No. I just dumped a bunch of little pieces all over the place.
Oh, okay. Yes, Shellback. I see you. I'm not ignoring you. Yes, the -6. Maybe I should have been like, okay, fine, and let it go. But there was a time when I was not the benevolent DM that I am now. There was a time when I was more of I am the DM and shit is going to go the way I say it's going to go, right?
Oh, here we go.
But as I got older, played a lot more games, a lot more types of games with a lot more different people, because I did run Adventure League for my local game store for a couple of years during the 4th edition era. I became what I call myself now the benign DM, because I become the DM that is generally kind of likely to say yes to most things, unless they're obviously like, super retarded or something. And hey, Simon, if you're having a good time, I'm having a good time over here. For what it's worth, I've gloss coated my scorpions, and now I am painting the bar scenery that I recently acquired from Reaper. So yes, there was that. There was that kind of phase that happened. That is a phase that Shadow and I discuss often. I am the god of the world, and therefore, I don't even exist in the world. I am just there to mediate. Whatever the players want to do, they can absolutely do, no matter how stupid it is. And I'll tell you what, since I took up that kind of freewheeling way of playing, like, some people wouldn't like the way I run the game. I know they wouldn't. Because when the players encounter like a new group of monsters, NPCs, I generally, the first thing I do is have them roll a reaction check. Right? Now, some DMs will say, that's bullshit, man. You should decide how they feel. But me, Absolutely not. I'm not going to decide how the monsters feel. I'm going to let the dice decide.
Let the
And
dice.
then we go from there, right? And so if you encounter a band of caravanners on the King's Road traveling between Zimbala and frickin' wherever, and you roll really good on your freaking reaction check, then they're going to like you. And they're going to be a lot more likely to let you join their caravan or whatever. But if you encounter those same merchants and they decide you're a bunch of scumbags, well, then sorry about your luck. They're going to tell you to repeat feet, right? I didn't have to waste a single brain cell to figure out how that was going to work, right? I just rolled dice. As a matter of fact, I don't even roll the dice. This is something some people think is kind of cruel that I do, but I make my players roll all of like when it's time for a wandering encounter. Yeah, the players roll that.
Man, that's like your mama telling you to go cut a switch.
Yeah, that's how some people feel about it. So I'll tell like Jay, one of the guys at the table who perpetually rolls shitty. I'll be like, Jay, roll me a dice 6. Let's see if we got any wandering monsters. And about 9 times out of 10, he will roll the 1. And then I'll be like, all right, Jay, roll in our dice 6. Let's see what category we're rolling on. And he'll roll. And about 9 times out of 6, he'll roll the 6, which means the most powerful list. And then I'll be like, all right, let's do a die 20, see what we get. And then, you know, and it's gotten so much that's like a game, you know, because I keep track based on torches and shit about how often wandering monsters might arrive. And of course, it's based on terrain and how loud the players are being and lots of stuff, right? And I'll be like, all right. I mean, I've went so far as to have the players roll for the monster's attacks on them. You know what I mean? Like tell somebody, okay, the ogre gets +8 to attack. Go ahead and roll die 20 for me. So yeah, what you're saying about making you pick your own switch, kinda, I guess. I can totally see why somebody would think that. But you know, it is what it is. It just is what it is. And yeah, so I am definitely of the school of thought when it comes to DMing of creating the world, the region, the precinct, whatever you're in, coming up with NPCs and what's going on in that region, and then just kind of sit back and let the players wreck everything. Because they're going to anyway. So you might as well just let them, you know? And yeah, so all of my preparing for a game is done way up front, you know? Way up front. It's not even done a week before the game. This shit is done like a month before the game. Like if I know the players are going to the city of Zimbala, I read up all about Zimbala, and then yeah, that's about the prep that I'm doing. You know what I mean? I know what's up in Zimbala. I know about the cannibal tribes, and I know about the Ixian slavers and the Eskimo Ixian assholes.
Oh, don't stay Eskimo.
Yep. And so I'm good. You know, no matter what the players know, I know the region. I know the people of the region. I know what's going to happen. And I can either roll a die or just, you know, say it outright. And move on with life, you know? Just move on with life. Like they had a bad thing happen. They were they had found a entrance to an Atlantean tomb. And Atlantean tombs mean possibility of like high tech shit. You know what I mean? Like possibly laser cannons and rad guns and whatever, right? But the problem was every time they left the tomb, I'd tell them, we got to roll for the weather, right? Because every time you leave the tomb, there's a chance a sandstorm's going to blow in, and then the tomb will be covered up. And that's exactly what happened. Eventually, they went back to town, they healed because they'd gotten jacked up. And eventually, while they were healing, a big sandstorm blew in. And then the scout, no matter how hard he tried, he did try and he did roll shitty every single time, could never find their way back to that tomb. So, you know. Yeah, that's just. But back to, like I said, you know, I'm going to come right out and say it.
Uh-uh.
If you have the means, because if you don't, then this doesn't matter. But if you're a man and you have the means to drop the $120 on the bundle, I would highly suggest you do it. Highly suggest. Just do it.
Just do it.
You're gonna like it. It's gonna be better than whatever freaking game you're playing now, guaranteed. And you know, whatever. Shadow
OSC guy's angry right there.
Well, this is an OSC game, so Shadow's biggest problem. You know what Shadow's biggest problem was? He bought the player's book. He didn't buy the referee's book.
Yeah, that
So
might
he's
be.
looking at the referee's book. He's like, well, it's got all this stuff in it, but what about this, that, and the other? And I'm like, it's in the referee's book. Well, what about this and this and this? It's in the referee's book.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a
He
good
wanted
point.
to see where the laser guns were.
Well, of
And
course,
like,
see
in the
that.
referee's book being shot at you by Migo and shit.
I found that kind of laughable.
And I kept telling him, dude, everything you're bitching about not being in that book is in the referee's book. So lately, whenever we get together, he's been like flying his Arduin flag. And
Hello,
I've
Feast.
just been like trying to be a
Happy
little
and
bit
cool.
less whatever. But I can't be less whatever. Let's be honest, guys. Hyperborea is the best game.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Sorry. People can argue and whatever game you think is better than Hyperborea, you are wrong. And that's a bold statement right there, isn't it? That's a pretty bold statement for me to say. But I'm saying it. Whatever fantasy game you think is better than Hyperborea, it's really not.
I'm going to say nothing better, but sometimes you might just be in the mood for simple white box or AD&D or, you know.
Yeah. You know the only reason to ever play those games? You want to play a dwarf.
Or everybody else is playing them, and
Right.
yeah.
Because once you have, I would say, ascended past the demi-human bullshit
Mm-hmm.
into the enlightenment of the human world, yeah, then none of that matters anymore.
I can honestly say anytime I ever played a demi-human, it was because I was playing a class and they got a racial bonus that the class needed.
Yeah, but here's something I've said, and Shadow, of course, has popped in to have opinions about it, but I don't believe he's ever proven me wrong. When you pick a demi-human, half of your personality is pre-written.
Oh yeah, because they have like they're completely spelled out, like their whole culture, their attitudes towards things, and going against that mold is just like if you're going to play a demi-human, play it at least correctly, you know.
Right. So yeah, even if you decide you're like, I'm going to play my elf, but I'm going to play my elf like in this way, right?
It's like,
Then you're likely to get yelled at or at least supposedly corrected by your own DM and the other players in your group who are going to be like, well, you're not playing an elf right. And it's like,
but
oh,
it's
I'm
about
sorry.
fun. It's all about fun.
Right. I'm
Ugh,
sorry.
God.
I didn't know I had to play the elf the way that you think I have to play the elf. And, and I've said this a billion times, and I think the argument holds because everything we know about elves and hobbits and dwarves, for the most part, comes from Tolkien.
Yep.
And people like Tolkien, Sword of Shannara and all that. Their cultures have already been laid out. There's just nothing for it. It is what it is. And if you try to go too hard against playing to type, people are going to get pissed. They're going to be like, why are you playing an elf, but then you want to be not an elf? I mean, you shouldn't play an elf then, right?
Like playing an elf but trying to act human.
Right. But then, and that's true even for like a game like Shadowrun, If you choose to be an elf, even if you choose to be a street samurai, there is an expectation that you are still going to act like an elf. Whatever the hell that even means. And the same with the dwarf. You're going to be a little grumpy bastard that likes to work maintenance or something. It's just what it is. And I don't know if there's any way to escape it. I mean, in role-playing games where there are demi-humans, I don't think you can escape it. I think every person is going to take what the great ones wrote about elves and then otherwise act like humans. So you're playing the elf and you're 60% Tolkien and 40% just a human guy playing an elf. Because, like you said, the only reason you're playing the damn elf is because you want +1 dex. Because you're playing some class that really could use a +1 to dex. I mean, it wasn't even like, I want to play an elf so I can really delve into role-playing, what it must be like to play. No, you just want +1 to your freaking dex. And I can't even talk shit about that as a former, much hated power gamer myself. I totally get it, It's like, yeah. I mean, of course. But my biggest problem with the demi-humans, and this is true in every version of D&D, every version, is that how to play them has already been laid out for you. And even if it hasn't been laid out by Tolkien specifically, you know what? It's been laid out by Gary Gygax.
Yeah, it's a good point.
If you open the player's handbook for AD&D, he will tell you how culturally every demi-human in that game acts. He will tell you that gnomes are away and halflings are away. So right off the bat, before you have even played your first game, you are already being told how your character is going to behave.
in many situations. So I am looking in here and I'm grabbing this because it happens to be here, and I want to look at it, prove my point, right?
I just so happen to have a place handbook right here.
Well, I got 3 of them, but yeah.
Damn.
Well, I went through a phase where I like every time I saw one on eBay for a relatively cheap price, I bought it.
Just in case you wanted to read it more than once.
A big part of it was I was running AD&D, and so I didn't want my players wrecking my shit so much. So we look at the dwarves, typically dwell in hilly mountainous regions. It's telling you that right now. Then it's telling you what races they are, or what classes they can be. They can't do any magic. They have exceptional constitutional strength. They're able to speak X amount of languages, and they tell you which ones they are. They can see in the dark. They're miners right off the bat, so you know they're living under the ground. You get bonus to the initial constitution.
Elves really do start with a lot of languages, though. Good grief.
Yeah, they do. Right? And this is before you even read a setting book that talks about a dwarven kingdom, like Greyhawk, you know. Because then if you open up your Greyhawk book, which I'm not going to drag it out, even though I've got it in here, and you look up the Fey Kingdom of Selene, it's going to go off on how the elves treat everyone else, which is basically like shit unless you're a gnome.
Do you think Shadow likes elves so much because it was the only female example illustration in AD&D?
Doubtful.
All the others are male.
I really doubt that. Shadow, I think, was very much like I was at that time, which means a Tolkien freak. And I think that that's kind of just how Shadow is. He likes Tolkien. He said it a billion times, and I believe him. He likes the high fantasy stuff, right?
He also went on that
flying ships and castles. And
big tangent about human is boring. He's like, I wake up, I'm a human every day. I don't want to be a human when I play fantasy games. And why not?
That is the same argument that you hear from weirdos when you're like, you're a fucking weirdo for playing a female character in an MMO. And the response is, well, I don't want to look at a man's ass.
You know,
and it's like, well, so that's your excuse? You're playing a female character, you're running around as this female character, and your excuse is because you're staring at her polygon ass. I don't think you understand how actually lame that excuse really is. That is a lame fucking excuse. Because it tells me to tell you, bro, you need to get out of your house.
Okay, in defense of this, you could manipulate certain things in Skyrim, and the physics were really good to where that booty would jiggle, and it was fun.
Look, I'm never going to argue with anybody who wants to see hot chicks in game. I'm just telling you right now.
It is a lame excuse.
Trying to argue that's the reason you're playing the female character. And I'm like, nah, you're just cross-dresser, bro. That's all. You're a cross-dresser. You're over here, you're playing these characters that, you know, are women. And yeah, so I think you're a cross-dresser. And I'm not a fan. And I don't know that you and me can be bros because, you know,
You've chosen play a hoe. So yeah, like that. You want to see some cool shit? Now, a lot of these have been modified heavily. So, this is the Bretonian frigates.
Oh,
Now,
cool.
modified by 3D printing the cells. What else do we got in here? My brother's favorite, the Dwarf Ironsides.
Oh, those are cool. Are those? Because I remember a while back you were talking about you got the proofs and prints for a bunch of ships and everything, and you were like, well, apparently it looks like I'm printing ships today, and you just had this giant box of ships.
Some of these are actually 3D prints. Some of them are not. This big boy right here. This is a Bretonian galleon, and that's metal. That is an original Man of War galleon that I have not actually finished painting up. So there's a mix, like even with the frigates, like this frigate right here, that's metal. That's an original. But then there's some of them. Okay, these aren't Man of War figures. This is a brig. This is for another selling game. So the first character, this is like a 6-rate frigate, right? These are like actual historical miniatures.
Did you ever play Gygax's and Arneson's game, Don't Give Up the Ship?
You could. But then, like, this is I want to say a Skaven ship. You see how it's got the big, like, wrecking thing rolling in the gun. That's an original Man of War ship. I have quite a few, like these guys right here. These are the Bretonian Buccaneers. They suck. But you got to take at least one of them for your army. Those are all real. Pretty much all of the dwarf ships, these big freaking ironclads like that, those are all real. And then in the other box, of course, I have my Dark Elf fleet, which is also real. Now, this guy right here is 100% of a real model. And also one of the most pain in the ass models ever to play. That is the Norse fleet. Their only claim to fame is to try to run up and board you before you kill them. That's literally it. And then I've got my Chaos fleet. So like here's my these are like Death Skulls, and they've got bombards on them. And they have rowers, so they don't got to worry about the wind. They just move about. And then over here we've got the Slaanesh ships. And so yes, when it comes to ships for this game, like here is a gigantic Nurgle ship.
Like Steve Nurgle from Family Matters.
No, like
okay.
Come on, dude. Like these are 100% real, not 3D printed. Dwarf War balloons. Because if you play the Dwarf fleet, you can have flyers. The Bretonians can too, but I don't think I have any. But the Bretonians can field Pegasus riders. Here is the Chaos Dwarf guy, and this is a real figure. And it's the Chaos Dwarf bombard ship.
You know, speaking
Chaos
of real
Wars are
figures,
all about just giant ass weapons.
why'd you tell Shadow the other day? And I'm just curious, is why'd you tell Shadow the other day you hate metal figures?
Metal figures are hard to kit bash.
And it's not the weight, like the weight of them never bothered you.
No, not really. As a matter of fact, a lot of my plastic figures, I actually glue metal discs to the bottom of the base
Mm.
so that they're heavier.
Okay.
That makes them feel like a little bit, I don't know, more like old school.
Because I remember we used pewter for years and years, and we made a conscious decision, you know, like going to conventions, because we staffed the conventions a lot, running games, and you got to walk around a hell of a lot. Those pewter miniatures do drag you a little bit.
Yeah, but for me, it's all about the ability to easily cut and modify the miniature. And so plastic figures, especially multi-part plastic figures where you can do weapon and arm swaps and shit, that's my bread and butter basically when it comes to miniatures. Now the unicorn, the scorpion guys, I've been working on their metal. And that has meant drilling through metal to post weapons. That has meant dealing with trying to change the head of a guy, you know, being a pure pain in the ass. And then, of course, the fact that now that I've gloss coated them, I'm going to end up having to paint parts of them again. Because metal figures, even though I prime the shit out of these guys, have this horrible tendency for the paint to chip or rub off. So, yeah, that's going to be a thing. Whereas plastic figures, even if you don't primer them, a lot of times you can paint a plastic figure unprimered and the paint will still stick on that bitch forever. I don't know what it is, right? So that is the issue with me and metal. But like I said, I do buy 25 millimeter washers. I think I might even have some right in front of me. Like these guys, right? I buy these in bags of like 50. And I will glue them on the bottom of the base so that the figure itself feels like it's got a lot more heft than it actually has.
Okay. Imagine it gives them a little bit of table stability too if they're top heavy or something.
For show. You are 100% right, homie. They do make them where if it's a figure with like a weird weapon or they're just posed weird.
Yes, but Reaper had a problem with that. I noticed they're and it's also just their plastic comes all bendy and warped. They need the hot bath to unwind.
Right. And a lot of times with Reaper, if the weapons are too bendy and shit, I cut them off. And I replace them with actual hard plastic weapons and shit. Because I have lots of sprues from God only knows so many different types of miniatures that it's like whatever, you know. It's like, oh, you've got a character and you feel like he needs a 50 BC Assyrian shield. Yeah, I got you. I got that, you know. Oh, you're playing a Roman and you need one of those Acrodon shields that were super rare. And in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, not Roman, a Norman. They had this shield that almost looked like a heart. It was like a really weird shield, right? And they would occasionally use that. I mean, they did use, of course, the kite shield, which is my favorite. But occasionally they would use the heater shield, the long heater, and then of course that weird fucking shield. And I'm not 100% sure who thought that thing was a great idea or not. At some point,
Mm.
also Normans, it would totally be justified if you say you were making a Norman army, if you just equipped them all with round shields. Call
Yeah,
it a- I mean,
totally.
they're known for the kite shield, but that's just because that's what people use them for. They used round shields just as much as kite shields. Matter of fact, pretty much every army did. Even the ancient Irish, round shields. The Anglo-Saxons, round shields. When you're playing a certain era of historical wargaming, it can be kind of a pain in the ass because it can kind of get difficult to tell who in the hell's who.
Hmm.
It's like the Vikings are raiding the Anglo-Saxons. Well, how do you know which one's which?
The crosses around the neck of the Saxons.
Yeah. Or if you spent the money to put shield decals on, so that the Anglo-Saxons all have like, the Virgin Mary and shit painted on their shield, and the Vikings are running around with like ravens and whatever, right?
You could do. I mean, it would be easy if it were Danes. I mean, you paint them that light blue they were in love with.
Right. Yeah, that weird kind of pale blue.
Yeah, it's like a wispy sky blue that they just got obsessed with.
Well, it's probably easy for them to make, I guess.
Or
From
it's a
what I
color
heard,
they never see. It's
huh?
like they don't get to see that color often.
Well, from what I understand, if you take seaweed, like kelp that you find on the beach, right, and you put it in water and you let it ferment, it actually creates like a blue color.
Huh.
And that was a thing Vikings knew about. But it wasn't like deep enough of a blue that if you wore it, it would be like, check me out in my badass, magnificent woad paint. It was a lot more of a soft blue. So maybe that blue you're talking about that the Danes got obsessed with for a while,
Yeah.
maybe that was just what it was,
There's a Dean poll that says good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Dean. Good morning, good morning. Hey ho. What a beautiful morning. Good morning to you.
Say morning, it's my afternoon.
Yeah. So, yeah, that could have been a thing. Then
I mean,
again, a lot of things the Vikings did inadvertently about surviving. So, I mean, as often as we like to paint our Vikings up in really bright colors and throw them on the table, historically speaking, most of the time they were not wearing super bright colors. Maybe
Yeah.
the Kings, the Bannermen, stuff like that, they'd be wearing like reds and stuff. But your average Vikings would be wearing like kind of dull colors, kind of don't notice me, senpai, while I'm creeping about. Please don't stick a crossbow in my ass.
I mean, historical. I mean, you should strive for accuracy, but most of the time, it's really just differentiate the minis on the table. Like, I'll just
Right.
always paint Saxons Lincolnshire green, like a bright green.
The Saxons I painted, I leaned into blue, but they all had the Alpha Omega on their shields. Every one of them. So, they all had the big round shield. It had the Pi Epsilon and stuff like that. And the miniatures, which were Victrix, like you said, they all had crosses around their necks. So it was a thing to go back after they were all painted and carefully take gold or brighter silver than their chainmail and paint that cross so
Nope.
that at an instant you could see this is the Christians, you know. So the Vitrix guys, they're supposed to be here in the next couple of days. I made sure to order plenty of shield decals to go with them. And I ordered 10th century Kievan Rus and 10th and 11th century Arabs.
Uh-oh. I know
Well,
what
I
you're
mean,
doing.
I already had Arabs. I just wanted some more, and I want some shields decals for them. The Arabs are actually for my Crusade games because Bishops or Barons War has an expansion called Outrimmer, which is just 100% about all the wars that took place in the East. So not just the Crusades. There's, you know, the various wars between the Russian princes and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, the Byzantines and the Pechenegs and whatever, right? And since I have armies of Pechenegs and armies of Byzantines and all of that, I thought, you know, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this a thing, you know? And so, I mean, even on my table right now, I've got a unit of 12 Crusader Knights that I, when my paint comes in, I'm going to spray paint them all white, and then I'm going to use the transfers that I bought to put the crosses on them, like not only just on them but the horses as well. And then I'll do a little bit of the detail work, and they will be pretty much ready to rock. That will be their thing. And then of course I had to buy the spear or the shields for the Arabs because there's no way I'm going to try to write all that shit in Arabic on a shield. You know what I mean? That is already not an easy language to try to write. And then to try to copy shit like, you know, on a tiny little round shield, because the Arabs apparently use a lot of round shields too. I'm not even trying it. I will make one unit of Arabs that will be 100% all clad in black. Because Saladin himself, his personal unit, they only wore black. I forget the name of them, but the rest of the Arabs that painted up are very colorful. And then in front of me, I've got a bunch of Ulfgenwehr.
Vergenverver.
Bergen. Well, I mean, the Dane in chat might be able to actually say what these are, but they're Norwegians wearing wolf cloaks and barely anything else that are getting ready to jump over a wall and massacre a fucking village, because that is kind of their deal. They're the berserkers, the wolf men.
They're going to pillage that vaginal village like a Visigoth.
Hey, have you ever seen the movie The Northman?
Yes. Per your recommendation.
Right. When they creep up on the Slavic village.
Oh, God.
And those guys, because the Northman was one of those guys, he's up all night howling and drinking. And they just run up on it and like jump up on that wall and go over it and just start wrecking faces. And it's just like, yeah, that's no good. Now these guys need shading and detail, and I need to paint their cloaks. These are Irish lords. And for whatever reason, Dark Age Irish lords typically were in love with Dane axes. That was their deal. They're like, I am an Irish lord, therefore I must use a Dane axe. Because I don't know why. But I've also got a bunch of, just Irish warriors. And let me tell you something, they suck. Okay, they don't suck, but like the army you mentioned, like the Anglos or something, if these guys ran up on a bunch of Anglo-Saxon warriors, they're going to get wrecked because they're wearing zero armor, and for the most part, they're just carrying javelins. And it's like, okay, that's kind of useful because they can, they can support their friends, they can chuck some freaking spears, they can do their thing, right? But when it comes to actually getting full on stuck in and engaged in a battle, they just ain't got the juice, man.
They got that dog in them.
They just ain't got it because they got a javelin? What are you going to do with your javelin when some Anglo-Saxon runs up with a broadsword and decides to split your favorite head? You're not going to have a good time. That is in no way will that be a good time for you.
Hope you didn't skip breakfast.
All right, because it's just a no fun situation right there. And then, now for fantasy, I think I might have showed you this. I've got my girl. That's right.
Who we got there? Uh-oh.
Hellebrand, the witch, the head hag of the witch elves. That's right. And I've got her temple to Cain and everything too. So yeah. So looking at my Irish sprues, there's a few small shields I need to glue on a couple of these Irish guys who just didn't have any shields on them. And then I think, I've done all of my bar stools and everything. See, there's all the bar like benches that go with the long square tables. So when they're perfectly dry, they'll all get hit with some gnome oil, maybe some Agrex at Earthshake. Maybe I'll give it, I'll give it a try and see which one is actually the way to go. So got those painted tonight for the most part. That's pretty good. And then here is the bar itself. So you got these two L's, and you're supposed to put them basically, not like this, but like spread open with the bar staff on the inside.
Oh, okay.
So if you have, so it's like there's no stools. If you want to drink at this bar, you just need to stand up and lean against the counter, right? But if you have, which I have, barrels and things like that, that would go on the inside of the bar. Plus, underneath here, there's a shelf. You could hide, I don't know, shotguns, swords, bottles of whiskey, whatever the hell you want to hide under there.
You got any those strumpet miniatures from Etsy?
I do indeed have a few strumpets, and I have multiple Barkeeps.
I got that one of that girl sitting on the barrel, holding the big tankard.
Oh, is it a dwarf?
Oh, they do make a dwarf one, but I got the human one.
Nice.
Made her a redhead, so
Well, obviously, so that everybody can know that it's trouble. And if they behave in a certain way, then, you know, they get what they get, don't they? I just finished putting a new weapon on my Ilya Mermits model. But I was reading my mythology. Ilya Mermits should have a blonde beard. But the sword that came with this guy was all bent to shit. But here he is. This is not that I expect anyone to know who Ilya Mermits is. He was a Russian hero and also considered to be a giant of a man, like 7 feet tall, you know?
mountain of a man.
But looking at the figure, he definitely should have blonde hair. He would have been, you know, what we would call a Kievan Rus. According to the story, he was crippled. I mean, he was a big man, 7 feet, like I said, but he was crippled. And some traveling Orthodox monks happened by. And one of them laid hands on him and it uncrippled him. So then he went out and he did all this farm work that he hadn't been able to do for his parents. But then the Mongols invaded, or it could have been the Pechenegs. Whoever it was, he decided he was going to go and put an end to that shit. And that's how he became a hero.
I likes the Mongols though.
I mean, they're one of the coolest groups of all time.
And they are most excellent sumo wrestlers.
See, I didn't know that the Mongols even knew anything about sumo wrestling.
That's where it came from. They had
I
a
know
version of
they have
it.
their own kind of wrestling. I had no idea it was related to sumo.
That's where sumo kind of more or less originated from, and Mongols kind of dominate that sport. The best that ever lived was Mongolian.
Well, I do know I saw Carl Pilkington dressed up in a weird costume with a weird hat getting slung around by a Mongol. I do remember when they sent Idiot Abroad, they sent his ass to Mongolia. And like one of the first things they did is dress him up in they have a very weird wrestling costume they wear with the red cloth X and that weird kind of square hat. But I mean, their culture though, so knock yourselves out. I mean, they were super nice to Carl, but it's kind of, I guess, a culture thing that if you visit and you stay with them for any amount of time, then they kind of expect you to take part in their wrestling, you know?
Oh God!
And I think they were going pretty easy on Carl, you know?
Oh yeah, they beat the snot out of each other, man.
Because Carl is not a big man, so it's like...
I saw the one more time where he went to India,
Oh, God.
and the dude was showing him the toilet that you squat over, and he was just like, "Well, I'm not doing that." And it was just like,
Oh, he was so mad. He's like, Ricky and Steven are staying in a 4-star motel, and they've got me staying in a motel, you know, without a toilet. Yeah, he was he was not happy. But I mean, he had a right to not be happy because what he was saying was absolutely true. Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant were absolutely fucking with you. I mean, bad. I mean, but then again, he knew it. They told him they was going to. It wasn't like a surprise, you know. It wasn't like they're like, "Oh, we're sending you on a wonderful vacation. Don't worry about it." Yeah, right. You know, like if he trusted Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, then he got what he deserved. Because trusting those guys should not have ever been part of the option, you know. They're going to do what they do as long as it's funny, because that's the only thing they care about. And yeah, of course, in the very end, in the last episode, Stephen Merchant was being kind of philosophical about shit, and he kind of nailed it in a way where it was like, yeah, he won. Because like Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, excuse me, I mixed the names up there, right? They were talking about all the horrible, funny shit that they made Carl Pilkington do, right? But when it came time to interview Carl Pilkington about it, his basic response was, I got to see the world do a shit ton of amazing things and I didn't even pay. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just like, so who won? Right? Because he got to do all that shit and that was all on Ricky Gervais's dime. Everything he did, Ricky Gervais paid for. So yeah, I kind of when I heard that, I kind of was like, yeah, I think Carl's right. I think ultimately he is the winner because he got to do all of that shit. You know, go all those places, do all the stuff, see all the stuff. And a lot of it did suck, obviously, but some of it was cool. Like when he went to India and he got to hang out with the Siamese twins. Like he was super stoked about that. You know? Because he's already into that kind of weird shit anyway. Like, you know, they talk about how he's always reading those magazines that are about, you know, that kind of stuff, you know? Like, so when he went to India and he met the Siamese twins, he was beside himself, happy. And literally, he sat there with her, and they just had a whole repertoire, you know? They're just sitting there having this whole conversation about everything. And you could tell, he was like 100% super interested in everything she had to say. You know, he wasn't being a dick. He really was like, you know. So, yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, what do you even do about it? You know, there's nothing to do or say about it. The fact is, you sent him to India. Yes, he did not enjoy the shit toilets, and he didn't have a good time with people just randomly throwing cow shit at him or whatever, right? But he did get to meet the actual Siamese twins and have a whole conversation with them, and he was 100% beside himself happy that he got to do that. You know, because of course, I guess he's a weirdo. You ever hear the story where he talks about Harry the housefly?
Sorry, I'm eating a salmon roll.
Oh, okay, good.
Sorry about that. No.
No, don't be sorry. Carl Pilkington's mom assumed that every housefly that ever was in their house was the same housefly.
What? What the fuck?
And she named it Harry. And it was almost like a pet. Because in her mind, it was the same housefly. So, you know, like they would be doing something, and if there was a housefly, she'd be like, well, there's old Harry. Harry the housefly just doing his thing, you know. Like, and if you watch the show, you will notice that Carl Pilkington's mom is the one that sends him like all the articles about crazy ass shit. And when I say crazy ass shit, I am meaning like aliens under the Arctic Circle, and like that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, they're there. Let's be real.
Well, whether they're there or not, the point is Carl Pilkington's mom is all about that shit, right? Whereas his dad is like your typical, I guess, British dad, you know? He's just doing his thing, whatever, not getting super involved in shit, just, you know, whatever, right? But his mom is like sending him articles about worms that have teeth. And Carl's freaking out about it. And then, of course, his wife, Suzanne, which is not actually her name. They keep her name private the whole time. They call her Suzanne, but that's not her name. And they depict her as a blonde. She's not actually a blonde. And Suzanne is constantly trying to talk Carl out of being a fucking maniac. But how can he not be a maniac when his mom is sending him this crazy shit on a daily basis about maniacal stuff? You know what I mean? Like,
the conspiracy moms are fun, though.
Oh, yeah. She's constantly sending him articles about UFOs and lizard people, like all of the wildest shit you can think of. Yeah, that's what Carl Pilkington's mom sends him. Like,
kind of like the mom on I Married an Axe Murderer.
Right. And so, you know, whereas the dad is pretty much like whatever. Like I said, the dad's just like, yeah, whatever. And their vacation is they go to Wells. Every year for vacation, they would go to Wells and they would go camping. That was their vacation. And yeah. And yeah, so Carl Pilkington is just an interesting character. Like, he grew up in what we would call the welfare neighborhood, but over there they call it the what's the name of it? Damn it. Now I'm forgetting. Ricky Gervais grew up there too. But it's their version of like welfare housing. And that's where they both grew up. And that's how they kind of become bros. I mean, like, one thing you don't know, but it's a fact, is that like Ricky Gervais and Carl Pilkington are actually super close. On all the shows and shit, you know how they don't act like it, but in real life, like, yeah, they're super close. But yeah, they grew up in the poor, rough British welfare, whatever's they're called, and that's kind of how they met. Whereas Stephen Merchant They met when Ricky Gervais started writing The Office. Stephen Merchant was one of the guys that wrote The Office with Ricky Gervais.
There's a show I could not stand.
The Office?
Yeah, I thought it was boring.
It's one of those shows that it's like, I think it's for a certain type of person. I think if you've ever worked retail in that kind of office space, it's probably funnier. Because then you're like, yeah. I mean, I'm the same with you. I kind of was just like,
I mean, it was funny enough the first time I watched it, but it's just the people that really enjoy it just want to watch it over and over and
they're
over.
just annoying. They're almost as bad as Whovians. You know,
Oh God,
it's like, for the love of God, do not turn a crappy sci-fi that the British made 80 years ago into your personality. You can do better.
I tried it, and all it did put me on a miniature crusade that got me in a bit of trouble. That all I said was I wanted to smash old girl in the face with a brick, and I didn't say I was actively going to do it.
Which old girl?
Billy Piper,
I don't even know who she plays.
some Euro trash whore. She's talentless.
Yeah,
But all I said was I wanted to.
but,
She
but
has a
hold
very.
on. And Doctor who was she?
Not even sure. I didn't
Like,
watch enough.
Was she
Like,
the blonde doctor that hung out with Tennant?
no, like she was something or other.
Was she the redheaded chick that hung out
No,
with
the redhead chick was Catherine Tate, who was actually a very sweet lady. I met her. She's
so was
very
it
sweet.
the dark-haired girl that they always called the impossible girl for some reason?
No, but
You got me lost then. I don't know.
well, I already hated her because she was in Penny Dreadful and didn't die. She did die, and then they brought her back, and it pissed me off. Anyway, all I said was I wanted to smash her face with a brick. She has a very brick smashable face.
That got you in trouble?
Yeah, everybody got pissed at me because everybody fucking loved her and loved everything she does.
Yeah, I don't even know who she is. So
Yeah, she's an ugly pig-faced mutant whore. It don't matter.
right, I'll take your word for that. I mean, Doctor Who for me, peak Doctor. Longest Doctor Who, as far as for downhill from there. And I'm not even, because I'm trying to sound like you know, Who fan. I had this tendency of doing
Hey, cut
to
out.
other places, right? A great run here. Last the House of the Dragon. He was a shitty Doctor Who. Oh my God, he was a shitty Doctor Who. But apparently he's really good as a Valerian in House of the Dragon. Anywho, though, his whole time he was the Doctor Who. I think you could count on maybe both of your hands the number of times that they actually left London. And typically, every episode was about how horrible the British were for colonizing some place or other. So that kind of become that doctor's whole thing. You know, the British suck. We're not leaving England ever. And we're going to have another episode where we bemoan slavery and then blame it on the one empire that almost went bankrupt to end it. Not great, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, that's kind of why it's over.
And then the lady was even worse. And then when they had the black Doctor Who guy, what was the world he was from?
Fried chicken in India.
No, he was from a specific world where there were about a bunch of super geniuses. But apparently they had this whole episode where they're trying to show how Doctor Who was made. And it involved this older black woman torturing this young black girl to death over and over again. And it was just like, wait a minute. Why are you doing that? You know? It's like, are you trying to turn the Gallifreyans, that's Doctor Who's world, Gallifrey, right? Are you trying to turn the Gallifreyans into the freaking Daleks? You know, like they just sit around and torture shit to death. I mean, there was an evil doctor. I don't know if you know that or not.
No.
Yeah, Doctor Who did have, there was another Gallifreyan that was Doctor Who's arch enemy in the earlier episodes. You know, and there was this whole time war and all this kind of shit that went on. And pretty much the only way to end the time war is that the original Doctor Who froze Gallifrey out of the timeline. So his home world was frozen out of the timeline, and he could never, under any ever circumstance, ever go back. But no one from there could ever leave. And that's pretty much how, you know, the big time war was put to rest, right? Doctor Who was only supposed to be able to reincarnate 13 times, or 12. So every time after the last guy was bullshit, you know? And that was just part of who Doctor Who was. He had 13 regenerations and no control over them. So, you know, it's not like he could wake up and be like, yeah, I think today I'm going to regenerate. It was just, yep, something happened, you're regenerating.
Always had the hardest time trying to digest that, and it was always for women I was dating. Every time.
Oh, the regeneration thing?
No, just they were obsessed with Doctor Who, and they kept saying the same shit. They're like, don't watch that one, you watched the wrong one. You watch this one with this doctor, and you'll love it. Fucking hated it. And then I watched another one. Fucking hated it.
Most of the women I know, they're going to tell you to watch Tenet.
Yeah, watched that one. And
The men I know, a lot of them are going to tell you to watch Doctor 3 or 4.
I'm still
Doctor
bored.
3 and Doctor 4 tend to be a lot goofier. Because that was kind of thing. Doctor 4 is the one that had like the giant freaking neck scarf and was always walking around eating fucking jelly beans and just basically being a menace. So Tom Smith maybe was his name?
Matt Smith or whatever.
Well, no, Matt Smith is the last one. So this number 4 Doctor Who, which was the most popular Doctor Who, based on the fact that he got to be Doctor Who for like 9 years in a row. Yeah, his kind of thing was that he was goofy, you know, but not like goofy like, oh my God, this guy pisses me off. More like he was like really friendly, you know? and he would talk to people, and he would like get involved with shit, and you could run up on him and be like, "I'm gonna kill you," and he'd be like, "Do you want gummy worm or some shit?" I mean, I always carried candy around. It's fucking he was kind of like the 40-something-year-old hippie that was just wandering around, right? And he had his different partners with him that he wandered with. Different, but that's where the one woman that they always talk about with Doctor Who started, I believe, with him, Sarah or whatever, and also the dog K9, the robot dog. But yeah, his deal was he just didn't take shit serious ever, and that, in my opinion, my good friend, is what made Doctor Who good. Is because he's the Doctor. He's basically immortal. He knows every fucking thing, and he just don't take shit serious. Because to him, it ain't.
I guess it was lost on me, just wasted on me. But
And he traveled all around the universe. Doctor Number 4 rarely stayed home. He was always going somewhere, fucking with something, getting involved with something. That was kind of the point of him. And so if you were one of his companions, yeah, you were going to get drugged all over the fucking universe, time and space, like all of that kind of shit. Whereas some of the doctors literally never left England. And that was lame, right? It was just like, why? I mean, you've got this time machine, the TARDIS. Not only is the TARDIS a time machine, it's also the most powerful warship in existence. And it has a lot of weird metaphysical bullshit. Like, you know the deal, how it looks like a police call box?
yeah.
Yeah, that's on the outside. On the inside, the fucking thing is
Yeah.
miles long.
That show gave me diarrhea.
Miles long, right? So it's like, it gave you diarrhea. Wow.
God.
That's funny. So why wouldn't you like fuck around, right? Go places, do shit. And yeah, the newer ones, Tenet did, but the rest of them not as much. Now, Tenet had a couple of really interesting episodes where he like met the devil and shit like that. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, ultimately, the attraction back in the old days before you were born, my good sir, the attraction of Doctor Who and the people who liked it, which were nerdy sci-fi guys, much like myself, was that it was a nerdy sci-fi show. And everyone knew that's what it was, right?
Yeah, I get it. Just, ugh. I think a lot of it had to do with the fans.
Oh, yeah, the fans run everything, right? Because what happened is when they brought it back, Tenet, all of a sudden it becomes super popular. And that's when you end up with just some stupid shit.
And I mean, I hate to confess this to you, man, but like, I love sci-fi. I do. But I just didn't care for Doctor Who. I did not care for Battlestar Galactica either. That show is the original.
Oh, okay.
That show is boring as shit.
I think the reason I watched Battlestar Galactica, the original, was because it was basically sci-fi. And the bar was so low. They're like,
okay, I get that. I can totally get that.
So hungry for anything sci-fi. And yeah, the bar is so low that it's like, I mean, come on, man. I come from the generation where we put up with that fucking Twiggy, hey, fuck. Da, 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 da. It's like, shut up, fucking you stupid robot, you know? I don't know if you remember, but Buck Rogers had Twiggy.
Yeah, I
absolutely-
was more of a. It was between Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. I was all about some Flash Gordon.
Well, yeah, Flash Gordon is definitely the superior of the two. But I'm just saying the TV show came on and I sat my ass down and I watched it because we didn't have it wasn't like now where I can go in the room and actually put on good sci-fi. You know what I mean? Like, shit. Some of the freaking just AI made sci-fi stories are better than some of the shit that was out back then. You know, feel free to disagree, but yeah, I would say that.
I was that way about fantasy. The it might be heresy to shadow, but the made-for-TV Ralph Moella Conan the Adventurer live-action show.
Oh, I watched the shit out of that.
I was all up into that. I thought that was fantastic when I was younger.
Wasn't like one of his partners a little midget dude?
Yeah, he had a merry band that would go back and forth, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could sit here and say whatever. I am going to say what I am going to say, and I'm only going to say it because I've said it in front of his face. He can't be happy. He don't want to be happy. I'm sitting here and I'm talking about Conan, and he's like, well, when did that happen? And like, I don't know. It's in my fucking Savage Sword. Well, then that's not actually canon. Says who? Says who?
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Robert E. Howard didn't write it, so it's not true.
Right. Robert E. Howard didn't write it, so it's not true. It's like, well, you know, Robert E. Howard didn't write a lot of the shit you think he did either. And a lot of the stuff he wrote after being involved in long pen pal conversations with Clark Ashton Smith and H.P. Lovecraft.
Uh-huh.
So, how much of Robert E. Howard is actually Lovecraft? Because I can tell you, a lot of Lovecraft does have the touch of Robert E. Howard on it. There's at least a couple of great old ones that Robert E. Howard created. And they went on to become, you know, officially part of the Lovecraft mythos, right? But the thing is, in a couple of those stories, and I don't even know who wrote them, probably not Robert E. Howard, but there's a couple of stories where Robert E. Howard's Conan is literally fighting Clark Ashton Smith's Desagua. You know? Or
There sure was a lot of art for that in various places.
Right. So if I do not understand my homies just reticence at just looking at Savage Sword of Conan and realizing that that is canon. You can talk about, well, Robert Smith didn't write it. Well, he did in fact write some of it. Because, I mean, they did do comics for like Red Nails, Beyond the Thunder River and shit like that. But no, he didn't write every single story, but I just don't see how that matters so much. But then again, that's just me, you know. There's only one book I would get agitated at if people started rewriting it and then trying to pass it off. And I think you probably know which book that is. So, otherwise, like if a good writer came along and just started writing like great stories set in the Lord of the Rings universe,
Uh-huh.
I would be like, yeah, that's cool. You know, he'd have to be a good writer, but if he was a good writer and he actually was telling a story, yeah, I'd be good with that. And I mean, I know that what's his name, Robert Jordan, the guy that wrote The Wheel of Time, he also wrote a few Conan stories.
That was a rough series to get through.
Well, him and his wife split up, and when they split up, it became a problem.
Oh my God. It just went on, on, and on.
Well, they get paid by the word, bro. But not only that, it was like, I forget at which book it was when his wife and he actually split. And it turned out that his wife might have had a lot more of a influence on certain story beats than he did.
Well, he was definitely a pervert that liked older women.
Right. And I think that kind of it just created a situation, you know? Like there was this whole situation here, right? And then the judge ruled that anything he wrote, for a while, she got like a cut of it. So he just stopped writing for like fucking, you know, a long time. He's just like, yeah, I'm just not going to write anything anymore. Or he started writing stuff that had nothing to do with Wheel of Time because she didn't get any money for non-Wheel of Time shit. So, you know, if he wanted to whip out some Conan stories, he could do that. And I tend to think that their divorce was not a happy, friendly divorce. It was not like a, all right, we grew out of love, it happens, whatever, let's split up shit and go about our way. I think it was more of a, you know, you're a filthy whore and I hope you die. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you don't get shit. Yeah, I think it was way more like that, you know? And it definitely affected the story. Boy, it affected the story big time.
Now the prequel novel New Spring was actually really good. That one I enjoyed, but like the first 4 books are pretty good, and then the rest just it just on and on. And then when he passed away and Sanderson took over,
yeah,
you know, they weren't bad. They weren't bad. He claimed he was staying true, but you know, had to fill in some blanks that Jordan had left. They weren't awful. I was just kind of glad to see the series end.
I'll tell you what, man. I soldiered through like book 1, and I was like, yeah, that's about enough of that shit.
That's what everybody says.
Uncommon.
I heard that a lot. People say, like, yeah, you know, after book 1, it was just, you know, I didn't want to. And like, yeah.
Yeah, I was the same way, believe it or not, with Dune. You know how everybody's always going off about, oh, I've read like 23 Dune books. Nah, I read the first one, and I thought, that's a damn cool book. And then that's about it.
Oh, you gotta keep reading, man. You gotta keep reading to figure out that the first book didn't really fucking matter.
Right. See, I think I like Dune just the way I remember it. I don't need to get into the Golden Path and Emperor Leto and you know,
that's the good stuff.
All about it because you can't not know about it because you know it's constantly talked about. But I'm just like I feel like I got what I wanted out of the series. you know, and in the end, Paul wins. And it's like, yay! And the Harkonnens are defeated, and you're like, yay! And then I can just go on about my business and do whatever else I want, you know, because everything wrapped up pretty nice and neat. There's no reason to, you know, worry about it. But I do know a lot of the story just from talking to my mom because she's a huge Dune fan. So yes, I know that Alia tries a billion times to assassinate Paul. Eventually, detonates a nuke on him or some shit.
Oh, it gets
And
Gets
Paul
wild.
wanders out to the desert, and then they reincarnate Duncan, Idaho, like a million times. And then, what is it? Duke Leto gets dumped in the desert and decides to cover himself with makers, which eventually turns him into a worm. He creates a whole different society with like female guards that are called the fishmongers or whatever. And like just a bunch of shit happens. Yes, I've heard about a lot of it. I just, you know what the problem is? I just don't care enough to want to read it. You know, like I would much rather, as much as I love Dune, I would much rather crack open one of my books on like Traveler 2300 and read about how the, you know, Earth Kafer war is going on, or you know. And I know for a lot of people that's kind of an obscure thing. A lot of people don't know about Traveler 2300, but I mean, for me, it's the absolute bee's knees. It's like the best, you know.
I said that was very much a dark corner game growing up.
Yeah,
Because
I wouldn't disagree with that.
it was everybody's playing Magic, everybody's playing 40K, and then there's these guys in the corner, in the far corner, and it was either Rifts, Gamma World, Traveler, or some weird game that I was like, I've never even heard of that game. Did not know that it was wildly popular.
Well, I will say this: wildly popular is definitely a. That's definitely something, I guess. I don't know if I would say wildly popular.
I don't think so. Because I asked about, they were just like, oh, this game is, you know, came out, blah blah blah, and people have been enjoying it for years, and I was like, okay, I've never heard of it, but okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason I have the opinion I have is it's like I know growing up for me, Traveler, Star Frontiers, you know, those games that I played and loved were never more than like kind of a like second thought of a game, you know. It was like no one really gave a shit about it, you know, except for the people who did give a shit about it. If you get what I'm saying, it was like in the greater gaming community, people didn't care.
Okay, so it really was more underground.
Oh yeah, it was super niche. And as a result, like I remember the first time I wanted to play Traveler being so kind of turned off just by the Traveler fans themselves, because the thing with Traveler is a lot of people really leaned into the you know, this is like a mostly hard science realistic game type of stuff. And you know, as a result, like if you tried to talk to them and you didn't keep up on whatever kind of bullshit they were talking about, they'd be like, "Oh, you don't understand how black holes work," and shit. And I was like 10 or 11, maybe 13, and I'm just like, in my mind, I just want to play a game like Star Wars, but Star Wars hadn't came out yet. And so this was a space game, and it had some wild aliens and spaceships, right? So to me, I was just like, yeah, I want to play a game with spaceships and aliens. And a lot of the earlier Traveler guys, one, they were older, typically. And unfortunately or fortunately, I think a lot of them had jobs in like STEM fields and shit. So, they were just kind of that way. They were not an easy group to break into, Now, once you broke into the group, then you were set. But you want to talk about gatekeeping. The Traveler guys, man, if you weren't 100% serious about like hard science sci-fi shit, yeah, you were not playing. Don't worry about that shit. Because, and you know who used to do the perfect example of Traveler players? Shauner. Because Shauner had this way he would laugh that represented the nerd laugh. And it'd be like, so you'd walk up to play Traveler, and the Traveler guy would be like, so, do you know about how gravity works? You know what I mean? And you're just sitting there like, dude, I just want to play a sci-fi game with laser guns. What the fuck are you talking about, right? But, and again, I will repeat, if you stood to your guns and you fucking kept at it, eventually, yes, you were going to become a Traveler player, but they were kind of assholes. Not the worst, but yeah, they were pretty bad. I can definitely tell you that they were pretty bad. Traveler players were some of the most annoying son of a bitches on the planet. They were just annoying. Just like they knew more about everything than you did. You know what I mean? And whatever game you were playing, probably something me and to this day. Hey, if you're not playing, players were that way. Anyone who played D&D basically a shit about some game with elves in it. When you could be over here worrying about the price of grain on this planet while we're trying to get a good deal on it, because I'll be honest, the first umpteen games I ever played a Traveler, they always turned into fucking merchant games, Like, no matter what career I chose, eventually I'm working on some merchant guy's ship. And we're just trying to do shit. And that seemed to be the most common way people even played Traveler for like the longest time, man. Like the longest time. It was like, all right, you've got a far Traveler, fat Traveler, whatever, free merchant, whatever it is. And okay, go do shit. And you show up at the world wanting to like get involved in adventure, But then you end up spending hours arguing with the steward on the planet or the broker about, why it's costing you X amount of thousand credits for like, a ton of corn or some shit. And that literally would become the game, Anyway, I think it's about time for me to get going. I think I've been up late enough. I think my homeboy is probably passed out. Started talking about Traveler, just knocked his ass right out. You know what? That's the kind of shit that happened, man. That is how it went. It was just a game that appealed to a certain type of people and literally no one else. And yeah. So that's why it's always been deep in the shadow of D&D. Traveler is like the game that's always there, but it's never actually really there. It's like people know about Traveler, the game exists. I don't think at any time ever in the history of gaming has Traveler ever even came close to getting anywhere near the cells of D&D, whereas like Vampire the Masquerade and what's it called, Pathfinder, at one time or another actually surpassed D&D cells. Vampire, when it was still TSR, Vampire was cooking TSR, man, cooking them. And then, of course, Pathfinder, when there was that whole fiasco, outsold Dungeons and Dragons by a lot. So, anyway, I've painted a shit ton of figures. I can wake up tomorrow after this resin hardens, because whenever you put hard coat on your figures, you should definitely give it about 12 hours to make sure that your hard coat completely seals in and is completely dry before you mess with it. And then we'll see. Yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll finish working on the bar and show you guys that, if I do anything at all. But peace and love, good gaming and all that. I'll catch you later.